please. The time is now 6 o'clock. I am calling the Halifax Board of Selectmen meeting to order. It is Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. We are here in the Great Hall. Just a quick announcement. Oh, that's gonna bug me. We got an echo. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20B, and pursuant to Chapter 30A, Section 20F. Notice is being made that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on Area 58 Community Access Channel. The board chair, which is myself, reasonably anticipates the following matters will be discussed and or voted on at this meeting, and I do not anticipate taking anything out of order at this time. Before we get the meeting going, I'd like to start, for those that can stand, to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So tonight, as you can see, we have our budget meeting this evening with our Finance Committee. Jim, before you open up your meeting, we just have a couple of quick bills to pay off the top. So if you guys will bear with us, we're going to have Mr. Smith take over. Actually, before we get started, for those that might not know, quick introductions here. Pam McSherry is our admin assistant. Myself, Jonathan Seelig, Selectman Tom Pratt, Selectman Bill Smith, Town Administrator Stephen Solbo. And we're just going to pay some warrants and commitments. So Bill, if you don't mind taking it away.
I move to approve the following warrants and commitments. Vendor warrant number 91 for $583.33. Vendor warrant number 91 for $281,438.62. Ambulance commitments 3/16/26 to 3/22/26 for $13,244.80.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimous. All right, I will now hand it over to Mr. Jim Walters, our chair of our Finance Committee, who will open officially his meeting for the Finance Committee.
Thank you, sir. So we'll call to order the meeting of the Halifax Finance Committee. It is 3/31 of 2026. It is a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. All members of the Finance Committee are present. Cheryl Burke, Mike Bennett, Frank Johnston, E.J. Bryan, Mike Regnetta, Rod Hemingway, and myself, Jim Walters.
Thanks, Jim. So what we're going to do tonight, folks, in a way, is to help get word out and help educate the public. We will be going over the fiscal year 2027 budget. Finance Committee, just for those that don't know the process, they work, I think they're on month 4 or 5 now of pouring over our budget, meeting with town department heads, coming up with ways to try to be creative with funding, with money savings, and they work with the departments. They're usually assigned different departments in town to come up with a budget. They work closely with Stephen, and they bring that budget and present it to us at town meeting. So tonight, in the essence of getting the word out, getting people as educated as possible, we have our presentation. Stephen, you ready to take it away?
I am.
All right, so Stephen has put together our budget presentation. I do plan on allowing questions. If anybody has any questions about the budget, raise your hand, I'll acknowledge you. And again, please come up to the podium, because if you yell it from the back, people can't hear you. This is being recorded, so people might not hear your question or the great point that you have to make. So again, question, raise your hand. I'll acknowledge you to come up, name and address, and let it fly, okay? Stephen, anything did I forget?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right, you're on the show. Let's go.
All right. First of all, thanks to the members of the FinCom. Thanks to the members of the Board of Selectmen. Thank you to the residents and department heads that showed up tonight. This presentation is mainly to give you an idea of where the town stands financially and the cuts that we have proposed in order to make us operate on a level funded budget compared to last year. We will go through department by department, and this will show the ultimate changes. And then also, this is the same, if anyone watched the FinCom meeting last night, this is the same presentation that was presented to them last night. So if you happen to watch that last night, you're just going to get a repeat of what that was for the most part. So I'll go ahead and get started here. The agenda basically throughout this is quickly to go over a financial overview. I'll first speak about the unaffected departments in proposed cuts. Then I'll move on to impacted departments, suggested override restorations and allocations, staffing notes on general government, and potential additional impacts, which hopefully will be provided by the department heads that are in the room. They'll be able to give you a good idea of exactly what these mean from an operational standpoint. So, first of all, if we look at this first item, this shows you the expenditures for the town as proposed in 2027. And that bottom number is $31,543,000 and change. And that's basically the total of the expenditures that the town has scheduled for next year when they were proposed. Now, this is a line by line as we see it and work on daily here in in town hall. This talks about the departments that are, I gotta move this screen on here, hold on one second. So this shows the line by line breakdown. Departments with no impacts, the town administrator and board of selectmen, which is currently at minimum staffing level. It's myself and Pam that staff that entire department, which is also HR and legal, as far as town council, as far as referencing town council and communicating back and forth. The town clerk is currently also at minimum staffing levels. The conservation agent is staffed by an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Bridgewater through June 30th, 2027. The Board of Health is currently under a minimum staffing level and also operates under a number of grants that would be significantly impacted with any cuts to their department. The highway has been at minimum staffing levels and continues to have the same amount of staffing for the last decade or so. And the water, with the water issues in town and a minimal staff of 5 employees total, that staff is also at minimum levels. Projected cuts across the board just in this building and general government is $203,000. So now we're going to break down into further department level funding. If you look at the accountant's office, our town accountant is here tonight. She has an assistant town accountant, which is listed under the clerical position. That has been cut back to half-time or part-time. We are hoping that the implementation of Harper's payroll, which is going to happen in the next week, we will be kicking that off. We'll take off some of the operational pressure in both the accountant's office and the treasurer's collector's office. So we're banking on that software to help us with operational efficiency. And I believe that will be able to make us navigate this potential change more readily and more easily. I have experience with Harper's payroll from my experience in Middleborough and onboarding it. So it immensely helped down there. I expect the same results here in Halifax. Moving on, Lockbox is another option as far as another software that's also free. And what this does is it takes the place of scanning bills and it makes it an easier process for the treasurer collector's office to process digital bills versus paper bills, which speeds up the process. Again, a lot of this is done through paper right now, which is about as slow as you can do it. It takes an immense amount of time, and that's where the efficiencies are being lost. So by automating some of these services, it will save time and efficiencies in those offices and therefore allow staff to focus on other responsibilities. Moving on to information technology, the wage line will remain unimpacted, and then the expense line, which was originally proposed at $218,324, will go to $178,000 as proposed in this iteration. So the savings there is about $40,324. The other thing that will happen with the IT department is we will do a comprehensive review of all software and hardware that is in the town right now. We are lacking that item as it stands today. We need a full catalog of the licenses and other softwares that are attached to all computer devices in the town so that we can appropriately figure out how much those cost and how much we're allocating towards those things. As we bring on new staff, those licenses are needed. So we need to know the appropriate numbers of all those pieces of equipment and licenses. Moving on, the assessor's office. So this will be the first time we see an actual loss of a position. So right now in the assessor's office, there is a part-time clerical role. That position will be cut and we will be remaining with a principal assessor and an administrative assessor, both operating at full time. The clerical, I don't know the exact time, but maybe you guys can clue me in on when that was added to that department. I know it was pretty recent. But I don't have the exact date on that. But I know that was recent, so again, it was added operationally. We see some opportunity to make that process more efficient, but again, the one cost here would become window time. there would be a loss of window time to the general public. So if you have assessments to be done or abatements to be done, they'll be more scheduled and probably less readily available, because that's just one of the natures of having one less clerical staff to assist with those window operations specifically. Moving on to zoning, building, and planning. Currently, right now in the building department, there are slated for 2 clerical positions. Right now, one of those clerical positions is filled. That's the planning clerical position. That staff member will take over the responsibilities of the building administrative assistant and then basically be the front line for that entire office across building, zoning, and planning. So it will require a little bit more work from the person that is in that position now, but we've spoken it over internally, and we believe that staff as it's in place now is capable of the change. And the new building commissioner is contributing on all 3 of those items, building, zoning, and planning. So cohesively, they're going to be able to make it work. It might be, again, going down to some by appointment only situations and not available at all times. That's going to be the main loss you see at Town Hall, is you're going to have to schedule more things by appointment only. We will have window hours, and we will broadcast and put them out there very vocally and very loudly once we figure out what those operational differences will be in the month of July if the override does not pass. But we have to wait and see on that, because efficiencies will need to be addressed, because there's legal compliance issues that need to be addressed in every office in this building.
Excuse me, Steve.
Sure.
As you're going, would you please call out the approximate savings per department
Okay,
as we
sure.
go, please?
Yep. So going back to the assessors, the approximate savings is $38,455 with the loss of that position. That individual has been in that position for, I believe, the amount of time needed to qualify for unemployment, so there will be a little bit of cost there associated with a layoff in that role. In the building, zoning, and planning department, we're looking at a approximate savings of $26,724. I left in a little bit of wiggle room because this is a union position, so we will have to negotiate an MOU or MOA with the staff that remains in that position, because she will be taking on more responsibility. Moving on to the treasurer collector's office, this is where you may see the most impact from availability. So when you come to pay your bills, we're going to obviously hope that folks rely on the drop box outside. It's going to be less interaction at the windows. Because this office is responsible for a significant amount of compliance when it comes to finance. So they are in charge of payroll, billing, collection of taxes, and money handling. And the plan here is to combine the assistant treasurer and assistant collectors into one role. The administrative assistant currently in this department would become a floater for potentially other seats that are available, and also to assist with windows being open more often when the opportunity arises. We could have a person that could float between treasurer collector's office and other financial offices to make it more open to the public in that situation, but is also capable of doing the behind-the-scenes accounting and finance work. We have an individual that we've approached about that, and they are capable and qualified to do that. Again, this is a union-protected position, so we will have to negotiate an MOU on that. And the approximate savings here before the MOU is $43,000. Excuse me. Moving on to town buildings. So this is town buildings in the terms of maintenance and facilities. The building department, this was one of the few departments that actually lost staff last year. They cut a full-time role into a part-time role. We are now actively not going to backfill that part-time position. So that's going to end up being a savings of $25,000. That position is currently unfilled, so there'll be no other ramifications of eliminating that. What it will mean is that town staff around this building, we will just have to take care of ourselves a little bit more, clean up after ourselves a little bit more. We kind of already do that already. We leave our trash out on Thursdays. That's part of the deal. We get it. So we're just going to have to pick up the slack on our end. Moving on to the police department. So this slide, it shows a multitude of things. It shows the change in the amount of funding. So the proposed ask for fiscal year 2027 was $1,960,454, and that has been lowered. I asked Chief Benner, Deputy Chief Benner, and Chief Chavs to please do their best to eliminate $150,000 from their department. And the list below is what they came up with. We do have some supplemental materials that are also on the website that show the detailed cuts. I know Chief Chavs and Deputy Chief Benner are here. We may want to start taking questions because this is when the impacts really start feeling real. There's going to be a significant impact to the police department as far as staffing, as far as their ability to, respond to things. There's a lot of changes. So if anyone has questions, Chief Chavs and Deputy Chief Benner are over here to answer those questions. I don't know if the board wants to open it up now or wait till the end.
Why doesn't somebody illuminate what the cuts are, and then maybe let
Okay,
one of
so
the chiefs
I'll
respond?
go through them really quickly. So as they're shown on this slide, the first item is police clerical OT wages. The request was $5,000. They're going to cut that $5,000. The recommendation was made. This was actually utilized for the number of public records requests that come into the department, and that's what the administrative assistant one of the roles they're responsible for is responding to these requests. These requests are often large in nature. They require a ton of our time, getting all the materials together, and it requires a lot of man-hours to put these requests together for people. So that we do highlight money for that specific request and those specific needs, because that is outside the typical 40-hour work week or standard work week for an admin assistant in those departments. We would also see a $25,000 reduction in the animal control officer contract, which would obviously, as it shows, would be a significant difference in how animal control is done in the town of Halifax. Full-time police officer wages. This is the school resource officer position. The request was $75,000, and that amount to be cut is $75,000. That officer is responsible for the Halifax Elementary School. It's not only important to the school community, but the entire community in general, especially with the increased numbers of the incidents we've had at schools. This is a multi-purpose position that serves both the schools and the community at large. Moving on to wages, so we had part-time wages, FY27 request of $5,000. They're cutting that. Overtime wages, $250,000. The amount to be cut is $4,000. Wages and unused sick buyback, request was $20,521. That's the amount to be cut. Matron wages, so that's if we ever get believe it's a female in custody, and we need a female to, in fact, watch that person and be at the police department. That's $1,500. That's to be cut. Some of these other line items are more geared towards expense, training, and maintenance. Cruiser maintenance, down $5,000 from the original request of $20,000. Police training, down $2,000 from the original request of $12,000. And the expense line, down $7,000 from the original request of $77,000. And that brings you to the total number here of $1,810,433. So that explains those. I know the chiefs can give you more detail if anyone has further questions on that.
So, Stephen, that total was 150.21?
Yes.
Okay. Any other follow-up questions, guys, for the chiefs at all? Yeah, come on down to the podium, please. You guys okay with that?
Hi, Van Donnelly, 201 Cranberry Drive. The question I had on the police one is $250K in overtime. Are we better hiring another police officer for that than paying the $250 in overtime? Wouldn't that be more cost effective? I don't know what the cost of an individual officer is, but just...
Chief Shah's Police Department. So it probably would be more prudent to hire somebody, but obviously we're not in that climate right now to be taking on staff when we're being asked to cut staff.
Okay, I understand that, but I guess the question I'd have is if we could add a head, what would the cost of the head be to take over that overtime role that's in there now? If it's 250, could we take that 250 down to, I don't know, 50K in overtime and hire another police officer or less?
Police officer would probably be about 75,000.
Okay.
More or less.
Yeah, so, 100 versus 250. Just some idea that, and I don't know how they do the overtime and cover that, but just the idea that if we could hire another officer, then maybe we help out there at the same time and we just reduce all the overtime, put 50K in if you gotta cover a shift or something like that, right? And again, don't have all the particulars, but I'd rather see us more staffed than get rid of the overtime. Just idea, okay?
Thank you.
Steve, where are we getting this 250 number from?
That's what he said.
No, we understand that.
It's from your supplemental materials that were provided.
So there's a $250,000 overtime line that's not in the budget sheet that we looked at last time.
No, it's in police wages.
Yeah, it's in police wages, and, so the last few years, we have probably averaged, between 260 and 280 on overtime.
And you've cut back to 250 on the budget?
Right.
In your line item of
Yes.
overall wages, correct,
Overall
Chief?
wages. 246, because,
246?
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Since you're up there, Chief, why don't we talk about what we did last night and explain what is involved with coverage in the town like we discussed last evening?
All right, so I'll start off with the whole thing with the clerical wages, the overtime. In addition to the records requests, we're also being flooded with the body-worn camera footage. So that's adding another layer to this whole records request. So our kind of a recommendation or put a plan into place would be to probably minimize window time. So maybe on one of the days, like a Thursday, shut down the lobby and have her just work on records requests in order for her to catch up. The ACO, I think Steve mentioned, we would be limited to our response. One of the solutions that we're throwing around is a regional or utilizing Plimpton for animal control responsibilities. They have an officer that's animal control certified. We'd have to get into an MOU, and that's why the number that was requested and the number that was cut is a little less. So we got about $6,000 to play with, which was what we figured we would be paying a stipend to the Plimpton officer when he has to respond to Halifax. And obviously, their response would be just for major incidents where we have a dog bite, we have a public safety concern. It wouldn't be for loose dogs running down city streets. Those would have to just kind of resolve themselves on their own. And then when we can, obviously, we'd be able to respond as well. But again, we might be looking at having just 2 officers on staff, which leads me to the SRO position. So basically, the SRO would go back into the uniform division. The recommendation would be, since we have a retiring sergeant in September, instead of laying off one of the officers, is not to fill that position. So we would take the SRO, put him in uniform. Obviously, his presence wouldn't be at the elementary school, and he also doubles as the court prosecutor. So it'd put another burden on us to be able to go to court, sign complaints, prosecute cases, and also provide security at the school. And with losing that position, there would, I believe, 2 out of 4 nights where we would be working with just 2 officers on the midnight shift. Obviously, Chief Whittam is going to talk about his cuts. You could see a potential of the officers responding to a medical, having 2 officers there at the scene, the ambulance being out of town, and then the officers having to wait 10, 15 minutes for another ambulance to respond. And then while they're working the medical, have another call for domestic come in, and obviously we'd have to go into mutual aid, I'm sure everybody's seen the news. Every department, every town in the area is in the same boat as we are. So it wouldn't really be fair to kind of put that burden on these communities, and they probably wouldn't have the staffing as well to respond for mutual aid. So, you know, our department works best when we have 3 officers on duty, a sergeant or an OIC and 2 officers. That leaves, you know, 2 officers to respond, 1 officer, you know, to keep patrolling the town. If we have to do a booking and we have to do fingerprints, 2 officers need to do that. In addition to another burden that's being placed upon the Plymouth County communities is that the sheriff's office has been instructed to cut his budget and he's done some layoffs to the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, which handles photography, evidence collection, things that our officers are not trained to do. So we rely heavily on the sheriff's office, and obviously their response time would be very long because, and then again, they would only respond to major things like major crimes, I should say, not motor vehicle accidents, take pictures and stuff like that. So again, more burden would be on our officers. We'd have to get them trained up on evidence preservation. You know, because if you screw up that evidence preservation, the case goes to court, the case gets dropped. We've all seen that in the news recently. And then the other stuff, buyback, the matron wages, cruiser maintenance, just, you know, we'll have to, you know, do the best we can with what we have. Just as a note, my expense account of $70,000 has been the same since fiscal 2010. That's been the police department's expense account since 2010 has been $70,000. So, any questions?
Chief,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you speak to about the court prosecutor position with the SRO? If that's cut, then an officer who's on duty, they have to rotate out to go do that. Would that leave 1 less officer available to patrol the town during those duties that are executed by the officer in that role?
Correct. So we have a couple of other officers that are trained as court prosecutors, and if there's a case that has got to go to court or complaints that have to be signed, that officer has to travel to Plymouth, and that leaves the town, you know, just with 1 officer or 2 officers, whoever they might be on patrol.
Chief,
Yes.
I don't expect you to know off the cuff, but the overtime wages, walk me through what a typical overtime request looks like. Is that somebody calling out sick, covering a vacation? Is it on the job, 8-hour shift, they stay late because there's a happening on the shift? Is it a combination of all of it?
No, the majority of our overtime is backfill.
Okay.
So basically, the officers are either off on training, calling out sick, vacation. It's very, very limited amount of like staying over for a case.
Yeah.
Majority of it is
So it's
covering
not like
shifts.
it's not like an hour and 90 minutes here
No.
or there. It's a shift at a time.
It's a shift at a time, yes.
And each officer has to do 40 hours a year training. You have to pay them to go to training, then you have to backfill the shift that they're on.
All with $10,000.
Yeah, they're mandated by training, because if
Yes.
they don't have the training, they'll lose the certification and they
Correct.
can't work.
Anything else for the chief? Let him sit down.
Thank you.
Thank you, chief. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Your name's Jean Gallant.
Needs no introduction.
Yeah.
Jean Gallant, Cranberry Drive, your expense budget that you talked about that has stayed the same since fiscal 2010. So what is your expense? Is that licensing, or is that it's office supplies, and then what else?
It pays for licensing, IT stuff, that any of the paper goods for you know, for
All that stuff goes up.
yeah, right, yeah. So office supplies, uniforms, because we're mandated by the contract to supply the officers with their first uniform. That's right off the bat, like $6,000 when they first come on the job. So any of the other general expenses, that's not including in cruiser maintenance or police station maintenance.
Thank you, chief.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
right, moving on. Are we taking comments from people online?
Do we have an online,
I do have
How does the board
I have an
feel?
online comment here.
Gotta be consistent. You're wanting to do more.
yeah, so I will, I'm gonna allow online comments, so if somebody has a question, you have a question there, Stephen?
Is
Yes.
there a name attached to it?
Yep.
No, it's just iPhone 5.
I would.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know if we can get into that because we could have folks from anywhere
Yeah.
asking comments, and we don't know if they're Halifax residents. We don't know if it's a bot from China. We don't know what we're dealing with. So unless it's a verified Halifax resident, I'd feel really hesitant about. Sure, yeah, for folks that are live here, if you do want to get a comment or question, please include your name and address so we know that it's somebody from here in town. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I just X'd him out. All right, so the fire department, Chief Witham is here to field questions, but basically the same situation as the police department. Right now, we have slated, the proposed request for 2027 was, and mainly the impacted line here is the wage line, and the chief will explain why that is. $1,322,682, and I'm proposing a wage line of $1,182,682, which totals $1,700,254 for the department. The potential impacts with an override failure would be a delay in interior firefighting operations. Fire suppression efforts may be limited. No non-emergency services. Property damage potential increases, which can in fact impact your home insurance rates. Firefighter safety risk increases significantly. Increased overtime demands. No house lockout assistance. No vehicle lockout assistance. No outside burning permits. And again, that last point of the potential increases in your resident insurance rates, because when you don't have as safe as you should fire and police staff, your home insurance rates go up. So this override probably hinges on a little bit more than just the town's finances. So Chief, can you comment on not only how the ISO rating sort of impacts communities, but all those comments?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Chief Mike Witham. So to talk about the ISO ratings, the ISO ratings will affect just about everybody's homeowners insurance. Obviously, there's a set standard that you have to meet for an ISO rating. There's a list of things that you have to basically qualify for. The amount of members that are on scene in a certain amount of time, pumping water for a certain amount of time, the amount of engines on scene, there's a big list of things that you have to meet, and obviously to qualify for different ratings on an ISO rating. I think currently right now we're at a 5. From 0 to 10 is what our rating is. If it does drop because we won't have the manpower, we won't be able to sustain pushing so much water in a certain period of time, yes, the ISO rating could change. That would be significant impact toward the town because everyone's insurance, residential and business, will be affected by that. So from the cuts that I've had, I was asked to cut $140,000 from my budget. That was my second cut. My first cut, I think, was about $8,000 or something like that. So in doing so, it came out of my part-time wages. Contractually, the union has it in there that, I can't lay anybody off from the union, and I have to obviously lay off my part-time members. To pick apart $140,000 out of individual areas on my contract, it's just nearly impossible. We're at basically minimum budgets now. So my only option was to go with the overtime, the budgets for my part-time members. Currently, we run a 3-man shift. It's a captain, another firefighter, who is a paramedic, and then a part-time member. So these cuts would impact us in the sense that I would be running 2 members. It would be a captain as a paramedic, and then my next person would be a paramedic and or EMT. The captain may be the only medic working, so he's going to be out of town anyways. I would be able to staff 1 vehicle, and that is it. So it's either going to be an ambulance or an engine. Where we run into problems, motor vehicle crashes, things like that, yes, we have injuries, but the car could be on fire as well. What do we do? Which one do we take? It's going to affect a lot of things. I know Steve mentioned a lot of things as far as interior firefighting operations. NFPA standards basically states that we have 2 in, 2 out, which means 2 firefighters in the building. I need 2 firefighters outside that can go in and rescue them. There'll be no search and rescue, obviously, until I have the staffing there. We'll be standing outside, waiting for manpower to arrive before we can do interior operations, which means the fire extends and extends. Obviously, more fire damage to someone's house, more property damage, more everything else they're going to lose. The fire suppression efforts themselves, are going to be delayed just because of that. I would have no non-emergent services. Right now we respond to everything. If somebody calls, we go. It's kind of funny because we're the catch-all, when no one else knows what to do, call the fire department, no matter what it is. Guys need to be trained in just about everything, from a cat in the tree to a person underwater, whatever the case may be, we go. No house lockouts, no car lockouts, we don't have the staffing. There'll be no outside burning, there'll be no school education. With 2 members, it's nearly impossible to cover the stuff we do now. Right now, when an ambulance goes out, it could be gone for 2 hours, it could be gone for 3 hours. During that time while they're gone, we will have 0 people here covering the town. A lot of people have said, well, rely on mutual aid. The last time I made a presentation publicly, I got calls from 5 different chiefs and surrounding communities asking, what are you doing? What's going on? Why are we down to 2 members? It's going to affect all of us. And I said, it is. Most definitely is. Our mutual aid agreements are reciprocal. We respond to them, they respond to us. So in times of need, we could have nothing going on in our community and you call for an ambulance, we are not available because we're running mutual aid to assist them as well. I think that's going to be huge in the sense that everybody's going to be affected. All these surrounding towns are going to be the same way. They're going to be short-staffed. They'll be taking things out of service. They're going to be cutting their services as well. So when it comes down to it, and we're calling mutual aid, understand that if we're calling Plimpton in and Plimpton's busy on something, we go to the next town. We may be calling Pembroke in. Pembroke's busy. We're calling the next town in. What are the times? I couldn't tell you. It could be anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour plus. I don't know. It's all going to depend on what's going on in the community. Now, keep in mind, you get a big fire in a community, everyone's going, right? So if there's a fire in Halifax, Pembroke comes in, Hanson comes in, Plimpton comes in, East Bridgewater comes in, all the surrounding communities come in to give us a hand because we need multiple people on that scene. What happens to the rest of the communities? They have a fire outside and we're responding over there to give them a hand. There's nobody around. So where's your mutual aid coming from? Those are the things you really need to think about. When we're tied up on a call and we're out of town or whatever the case may be, we're relying on the police department. Police department, for any medicals, they respond and give us a hand at all times. We're running short-handed as it is with 3. So on every medical, not only do we respond, they respond. So they give us a hand. We work hand in hand. At accident scenes, there's times that we're directing traffic because they're busy and other things that are going on. We have a great relationship with the police department. We also depend and rely on them for a lot of things. So we're out of town for 2 hours plus, or 3 hours, or whatever the case may be. They're the ones responding to medicals. Just stand by until that mutual aid ambulance comes there. So keep that in mind. When we're dropping to 2, we also have an ALS ambulance service that we provide for the community. We may not have that ability. We may be down to 2 EMTs because that's all we can fill. You have situations where obviously injuries, vacation time, comp time, sick time, everything like that. So I try to maintain a minimum of 1 medic at all times. And it may not be possible. So there's a lot that comes into play. Someone asked the question about overtime and everything else, and I think Chief Jobs didn't mention it, but what hurts us a lot is obviously injuries. We can't predict injuries, so your overtime budget to try to fill for an injury can be extensive. Someone's out for 3 or 4 months. I just had 2 people out. One was out for 4 months, one was out for 3 months. The whole time I'm paying them, and I'm also paying to cover the shift. So it's time and a half. It's not like we can't fill the shift. We're already short-staffed. I have to fill it. The other thing that comes into play is FMLA. So if somebody's out on FMLA, it could be gone for 12 weeks. That is not predictable, and it's not in my budget. And at one time, I had 4 people out on FMLA. So that's 12 weeks for each person that I'm paying for that's not accounted for in our budgets. So you're talking about overtime. Those are one of the concerns, with overtime as well. So, don't know what else I can say, but there's significant cuts that are gonna be here, and we'll be short-staffed.
Just a couple things. I mean, I could certainly speak to the ISO rating impacting insurance premiums. We see that a lot in my line of work, but not counting the new construction in town, which is obviously going to place an increased burden with more residential units, that you serve. Any idea how often or how frequent you respond to the new urgent care?
I don't have the exact numbers. Probably, we've been there probably 30 to 40 times already. That can go up depending on, obviously, they're a new business in town. Originally, for the first couple of weeks, that nobody even knew they were open. Now that they're getting used to having that, facility there, we're gaining more and more business.
And that's an example of 2 or 3 hours outside of the office if it's a transport,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
For multiple people.
So each transport, like I said, is, it can be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours depending on what's going on. There are times that Social Hospital and other hospitals, not just Social, but all the hospitals, too, Brockton Hospital, BI Plymouth, you walk in there, it's completely jammed. We're standing on the wall, holding up the wall for 2 hours, and it happens more frequently than you know about. But the whole time our ambulance is sitting up there, and we have no coverage back here. Every time the ambulance goes out, I do a recall, try to get people back to cover the station. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Yes, it's great when I have people back. Now I have coverage, I can send the second ambulance out. But on the other side of it is the more times we call back, the more money I'm paying out in overtime, So.
And obviously, there's no way to predict anything, and I wouldn't imagine you would want to guess at it. But like I said, with an increasingly aging population, more residential units, the urgent care becoming more familiar with the community and surrounding areas, that's not going to slow down.
It's not going to slow
Right.
down.
Okay.
I came from a community before this that had 3 or 4 walk-in clinics, and we were there every day. I can tell you, we were there every day. We were there multiple times a day, just because, after a period of time, people get used to going there. It's easier to go to a walk-in clinic than it is to go to a hospital. It's faster, it's more convenient. So, the more people get familiar with this operation that's down here, the busier it's going to be.
Thank you.
Chief, what percentage of ambulance calls are life-threatening?
Off the top of my head, obviously, every one can be life-threatening depending on what it is. The broken ankle, this, that, and the other thing could turn into whatever. But I would say the majority of the calls are basically ALS calls. We do have BLS calls as well, meaning advanced life support versus basic life support. But the majority of the calls that are going out right now are pretty much ALS calls. They're advanced life support calls. And I would say, out of our runs, I would say 90% of our calls are ambulance service at some point.
So the point I was trying to make is, when people call the ambulance, they want the ambulance.
Yes, absolutely.
They don't want to wait and wait and wait and wait, and you see their family member that's could be dying, and no one's coming. And people got to realize this is serious. This is not a joke. It's going to happen.
So last year alone, I think I had 500, and I said the numbers the other night, it was 530 or 540 multiple incidents at the same time, meaning, I had one call, I had a second call, I had a third call, I had a fourth call, whatever it may be. There was 500 and something incidents where we had multiple calls going on at the same time. So there were times that we were tied up and PD would respond to the second medical and stand by, while we had more members coming in, or we had a mutual aid ambulance coming in, or whatever the case may be. I think that's going to be more and more because being lacking staffing, because right now, I can split my workforce. Basically, if we have 3 members working, 2 guys on the ambulance can stay at that medical if it's stable, if the patient's stable, the scene is stable, everything else. The captain can jump in the car, come back at the other ambulance, and go to another call. We won't have that ability anymore. So.
Any other questions? Yeah, come on down, Mary.
Mary Gravenese, 98 Clyde Bosworth Road. Do we have any call or volunteer firefighters that are not on staff that we only call for urgent things? I know we have several firefighters and EMTs in our town, so I didn't know if we have that program in place where they're not employees, but they're call firefighters.
So basically, we have call members are part-time members, and we're considered part-time members. So we have a union, we have 10 full-time union members, and we have part-time members. So the part-time members fill the shifts for me, but just specifically people coming back as a call volunteer, no, we don't have anything with a volunteer.
Don't a lot of towns have that? to save money, it's not an overtime because it's just a flat amount?
Yeah, the problem is they have to be certified. So I see where you're going with that. The difficulty we have, even hiring here, is A, they have to be EMT certified.
Yeah.
Because we have the ambulance,
Yeah.
obviously. So, and B, they have to be firefighter 1, 2 certified.
Yeah.
So, you know, this.
Well, I have several in my neighborhood, that's why I was just wondering, like, I know,
To be firefighter 1, 2 certified, we have to sponsor somebody to go to the academy. It's 240 hours. We have zero funding to send you. Very difficult to put somebody through an academy class, get them through on their own dime. And
right, but if they're certified in another town, if they're a full-time firefighter in another town and they want to be on a list where they can, if there's an emergency, they can get called out and just get paid of whatever the flat rate is or whatever. Do we have that program in
We
town?
do, we're part-time members. So I have members that work other communities right now.
Yeah.
They work part-time for us. So they do work shifts, they work part-time for us. If there's an emergency and we do a callback, meaning everyone's out, we do a recall to call members in. Those are the members that can come.
But they have to work a shift in town? They
have
can't
to-
just be,
They have to work.
should we explore the opportunity of maybe just having calls instead of having people that are part-time? Because no one can probably work a part-time and a full-time and then be on call.
The problem with that is if we're not committing to working shifts and everything else, to outfit them alone, it's $6,000 for the year. Buying them a radio, which is about $6,000 for a radio. You know what I mean? So the benefit is to have them in place. And I do have members that don't work shifts that just do recall, and that's all they do. But they've been here a while. They're extremely well trained because they're in other communities. But I'm not hiring anybody new to do that because the benefit, like I said, there's so much of a loss between buying gear and uniforms. I'm probably $13,000 or $14,000 into one person before I get anything out of one. And if they're only doing callback, and I see them once a month or once every 3 months, financially I can't do it.
Yeah, I saw you did.
Deb Winowitz. Chief, if, God forbid, Halifax has a structure fire, about how long are you tied up for that?
Depends the extent of the fire, the size of the building, but on a minimum, I would say the minimum you're gonna be there is 4 hours. You know what I mean? Most of the time it's a lot longer than that, but depending on what it is, if it's a one-room fire, you can knock down pretty quick. It also has to do with investigations, whether I can do the investigation as the arson investigator, or I need the state police to come in and do the investigation, things like that. So it does vary on each situation, but to answer your question, the minimum would be there for probably 4 hours.
For 4 hours. And a lot of times for that, mutual aid would come in, as you said.
Yes, absolutely.
But they also would come in to cover our station, correct? For a second call, third call, and that would probably go away because they're in the same.
It can. There's
We would
discussions.
be-
I have a chief meeting tomorrow. There's been discussions with a lot of chiefs that, A, they're not getting the call back that they used to because people are, you know, obviously getting different jobs, relying on callback. It's just not what it used to be. We're offering more assistance to other communities as well. I mean, collaboratively, the chiefs are saying, okay, if we have anything, we'll automatically stop because we're such, you know, everybody's so short-handed now. So that is already in place. Do I think it's gonna get worse? I do. To answer your question.
Thank you. And just real quick to the police chief, are the majority of calls that officers respond to today for not only their safety, but the safety of where they're going, require both of them to respond?
Yes, so there's a best practice right now, that was authored by the FBI, that they recommend 2 officers for most calls. And that's one of the reasons why, when we started this whole process, I told FinCom that if, you know, cuts would have had to be made even deeper than they are right now, I was seriously thinking about shutting down the station at midnight, because I'm not gonna have one officer by himself on a midnight shift. God forbid, and you have Plimpton with 2 officers, Hanson with 2 officers, East Bridgewater maybe with 3 officers. And obviously, they're, you know, some of them are busier than ours, so that's one of the other things I was looking at, if we had to.
And just
then-
one more quick thing, for the police chief, same time type of question. You have a very serious motor vehicle accident, fatality type of thing. How long are you tied up on that?
Well, if it's fatality, probably the entire shift, because we have to bring in the accident recon team from the state police, evidence preservation, so you're looking at 6 to 8 hours, probably holding the next shift over to answer calls and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks. Van Donnelly, 201 Cranberry Drive. It's more of an educational purpose, a little bit for me here too, but we talked about maybe, there could be a chance for running sometimes where we had 4 accidents, and we don't know whether that's going to happen or not. But they're tied up about 12 weeks, 12 weeks, 48 weeks total, almost a full year at overtime rates. So I guess what I'm saying again on this, are we pinching ourselves by not putting on extra fire and a cop in these situations we talked about, and bringing down all that overtime and having that extra flexibility in the departments if they needed it? It seems like we're all trying to, hold off on them to save money, but costing us more on other stuff that we're looking at here. And if we can move down all the overtime rates, you could probably get these 2 on board. You cover anybody with an accident, a floater, right? You have a floater in the department or whatever that could cover what they got to cover, then you wouldn't have to worry about that.
You wouldn't be able to do that in union jobs.
You don't do what? You
Have
can hire a union
you,
guy.
you can't have a floater like
You
that.
can't hire a union guy?
You have to. They're
No,
union.
that's what I just said. You can hire them union.
Right, but they wouldn't be able to be a floater like that
Why not?
because they bid their shifts
They bid their shifts.
according to the contract. Yep.
So, okay, I think it's something we need to look at. If we want to hire an extra union firefighter or whatever to come on, why couldn't we use them, in the station or whatever it is and fill in when somebody's out? I think you need to look at something like that because that kind of don't make any sense. You want to hire more union firefighters to cover when the other fires are hurt. So is it just we're looking at overtime here, or do we need to have the position here that's available to the town for other stuff and bring down the overtime rates at the same time? I think if you look at the police and the fire this way and you look at these costs, you're going to find out it's going to be cheaper to you. What you're trying to do to make up for this and talk to the unions, right? So you want to hire another union firefighter, but we need some flexibility from the union in order to allow us to hire the other person to do that. Other than that, it doesn't make any sense from a resident's perspective. I want to hire more union firefighters or union cop, whatever it is. You need to have some flexibility with us to make that happen, is all we're asking. Otherwise, it looks like, well, all we want is the overtime, and we don't want to protect the town and hire the other firefighter. So I would say, from my perspective, we look at something like this because we're going to get more coverage in both places, right? And we're going to take care of hiring more people on the union rate or whatever, and give the chief the ability to fill out a shift if he needed it in the department. So that was one question I had for that, right?
Can I just
Yep.
stress that, Van?
Sure.
More people you hire. I was in public safety for 38 years.
Yep.
You're never going to bring that overtime cost down because it involves training, more training, filling shifts when they're out. It just snowballs. You can hire 5 people, but that's still going to increase.
Yeah, and I was just going to double up on that. Thanks, Bill. Good point. I wonder, I think the chiefs and the staffs would agree that more, hiring more people would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But as a percentage of overtime, is that offset by the wages?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I have a hard time believing that it would be offset. I mean, you hired 3 officers at $75,000. Does that bring down percentage-wise, or is the overtime just extrapolated by that extra employee?
Well, if you're covering like 48 weeks, it's almost 52 in a year, and you're paying overtime for the 48 weeks, right, for those shifts?
Yeah, but there's more training involved for the new employee. There's onboarding. I'm just not sure it's offset. That's all.
Expense when you bring them on. Now, having been a police officer for 10 years in Raynham, all right, I got a little history. I went on as a special police officer way back, went to academy, got trained, some of that stuff, right? What was available, they called me in when you call up, you got a shift, you took it, right? So, I mean, I understand how that works a little bit, okay? But I think and again, I don't have the breakdown of all those numbers to tell you what is right or wrong. All I'm saying to me is if you're looking at it straight out, and if you want to give the chief more flexibility, we should look at those numbers and talk to the union and say, we want to hire another union firefighter, but we'd like to use them in this capacity and see what they say. To me, it doesn't take much math to figure if you lost 48 weeks at time and a half, you probably covered a firefighter. And you can use them for other stuff that you're in there. And I don't have the overtime rates, but and that's just for that one instance. And then you got them in there if you need them for something else, if something else happens, right? So that's just one thing I'm throwing out. And another issue was we talked about like 30, 40 times going down to the urgent care center, right? And everybody needs an ambulance. That's one thing everybody wants, right? But any question, do we get paid the town at all for responding to those requests from the insurance company? Do they pay the town?
We do, but it's,
Okay.
it depends on what the call is. It's ALS, BLS is different rates, and
Yep.
it's Medicare, Medicaid, it's different rates.
Okay, just trying to, so maybe that isn't a, I don't know if it's a win for the town or a loss, I don't know.
Isn't,
Even-
Medicare's about a 30%, 33% rate, correct?
It's a significant cut when you start talking about Medicare, Medicaid. Our ambulance runs roughly about $2,600 an ambulance run. Some of that is full insurance, it's paid, but Medicare, we may collect $400.
Does it cover our cost, I guess?
No.
It covers our cost.
Believe me, it's not a,
I'm not saying you're making money, but it covers the cost.
yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of write-offs, unfortunately, I hate to say that, but I've looked at different ways to change things since I've been here. I've changed the rates, I've upped the rates every year. We are starting to send things to collections where we never did before.
Yeah.
So I think there's a different way we're looking at trying to collect every possible dime that we can.
Yeah.
That's never been done in the past.
I was just wondering if when we put them on with the planning board of the town, whether we looked at what the impact would be, and do we charge them for this, or are we making up to cover that cost? I didn't have the answer. But it sounds like they're pulling you from the station,
No, yeah, I
which
think
is really the problem, right? Not the cost?
Well,
to add to what you're saying.
Yeah.
To add to what you're saying
Yeah.
is, you're absolutely right. We do get funding that comes in, but it can be very minimal depending on what we have going on. Whether it's an ALS or BLS call, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, they're all different rates. The billing company takes care of that, and there's a set rate no matter what the call is. To add to that is when we don't have the staffing, like you're saying,
Yep.
every time someone comes in mutual aid, they collect the money.
Yeah.
So we had about 100 runs last year where we called in mutual aid, which that's about $240,000 potentially that we could bill.
Yeah.
That's billable. Now,
Right.
that's not what we collect.
Correct.
But I'm just saying, throwing numbers out there. So yeah, there's pros and cons both ways.
Yeah, all I'm saying is maybe an analyst we look at to say whether, okay, is it a break-even scenario for the town, which is fine, right? It's just not adding to us, or is this something we gotta do to look at that? But I still think if you look at all of this and you leave the chef's teeth, I really think you've got an opportunity to look at if you hired another union firefighter and tried to work something out with them to do that. And I don't know what that does to
Yeah.
you, you know better than me.
If I may answer that.
But for the town and for the union, you think it would be a better deal?
Yeah. If I may answer that, I fully agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And believe me, I support as many members as I can
Yeah, right.
get. But I think there's a lot of hidden costs there that
Yeah.
we're not looking at.
There's a
Obviously,
lot of one-time costs you're gonna get hit with, right?
Yep, so
Getting
up
set and all.
front, like I said, it's about $6,500
Plus
just a year.
benefits and all that.
Now it's uniforms, so that's another $1,500 just in uniforms right off the bat before they do anything. The insurance costs, so there's a lot of other costs that are hidden there. I mean, my overtime wages alone, like they said, it's not really gonna reduce it. My overtime wages last year, town approved $179,000. 2000 in FY '25, I spent $216,000. FY '24, I spent $207,000. FY '23, I spent $188,000.
Yeah, without knowing what that, yeah.
I'm already upside down before my budget even starts.
Yeah, but
So-
without breaking that down, and again, I can't do it here, but
Sure.
without breaking those numbers down, my only question to that is that, just a quick thing was 4 people out, 12 weeks each, 48 weeks. Pretty much no brainer when you look at almost the full year, because you're paying somebody overtime to take those shifts, right? That's got to cover a cost without looking at it, I mean, a fire, without looking at anything else. I'm just saying something you should look at, because it would give you extra protection in the town for anything that happens at the same time. He's getting additional resources, and yes, there's not as much overtime, but it might be a worthy endeavor to do that, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for either of the chiefs, I guess? Yeah, Mike, come on up.
Good evening, Michael Schley, Paradise Lane 60. I had a question for the chief. These proposed adjustments, is it going to affect you hard, or is it minor, or how bad is it going to affect you by these proposals as far as public safety to the residents? I mean, you cut and you cut. I mean, what point do you get where it's?
Obviously, any cut we get is significant because we offer the town services. So we offer ALS services with our ambulance, we offer fire service. When I can only staff one vehicle at a time, and I can't do anything beyond that, you know, that's a significant impact because we're talking about somebody that may not be breathing, a car crash that we're going to, or people that are injured. I'm not gonna sit here and say, hey, you know, people are gonna die because of this. They can, they might, but I can't bring that up and say, well, that's definitely gonna happen, because I have no idea. I don't know when, I can't predict a fire, I can't predict a car accident, I can't predict, you know, medical, things like that. What I can say for the fire department, I can speak clearly and say, yes, it's going to be significant. When people call and we're not available and we can't respond and we can't be there for 15 to 20 minutes, do you think that's significant? I would. You know what I mean? Especially if it's the other one that's having a medical, whether it be a heart attack or whatever. I would say that.
I mean, at the level you're at now, the new level that's being proposed for 2027, is it, like, how significant is it, like, 80,
I would say it's extremely.
so it's increasing the risk that you're not going to be able to get there, you're not going to be able to fire, you're only going to go to the town?
Well, like you said, we'll provide services that we can provide. You know, obviously our first ambulance is gonna go like normal. We respond as quick as we can, get to the incident and figure out what we need to do. And if we need more help, we call that help until later the KPD. But that second, third call, that large fire, that motor vehicle crash.
So it could be a small fire to a large fire, honestly, at that point.
Yeah, the boat rescues, the water rescues, the, everything else that we respond to. Think about trying to take care of the incident for 2 people, it's extremely difficult, so.
In the same goes, you see that, the surrounding towns that mutual aid, are they in the same boat?
They're all gonna be in the same boat.
So that's even gonna get harder to get people.
Yes.
To come in.
Usually maybe just the same as they call us, we may not be available, so.
I got one more question. I said, the fire permit, so you collect revenues from the fire permits? It doesn't go to their, so you're saying that's gonna be cut? Or the fire permitting, you're saying that's gonna be cut, fire just
We don't have any law response.
How much revenue does those permits?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that. I probably should right now. Didn't review that, anybody that right now, but, you know, I'm more than happy to get you the numbers. You know, there's quite a few permits that go out. I know people, you know, obviously enjoy getting rid of their stuff, the debris in the yard, whether they're burning it illegally or legally, different story. But, yes, if we don't have the manpower and I'm gonna make things unsafe in my community or this community, then no.
Has it generally been unsafe for permitted fires? Obviously, erosion fires for 1 year. Is it the permitting a problem, or is it?
What do you mean?
Since the permitted people generally follow the rule.
It's a little rough. Usually, we don't regulate burning, state regulates burning, so they tell you when we can burn, when we can't burn, whether the winds are too high, whether the conditions are too dry. You know, and I think this year we're gonna face a lot of drought. We're gonna get emails saying that there's gonna be a significant drought this year, like it was at the end of last year, when we responded to, you know, Onaconda responded to, obviously Braintree, which is showing us a few other areas where we're fighting fires. I think we're gonna end up with the same situation. You know, at one point we called out fire rescue because it was too dry. So I think we're gonna run into that situation again, and yes, it'll be burning.
I just want, not for you, Chief, generally, if you take out the building permit, or even a highway guy down there once a month doing shipping, or they drive around shipping, you're gonna multiply that shipping. There's a lot of yards and a lot of trees in this town. And the best way to get rid of it is on the backyard. You know, there's not really a lot of call for anybody getting permitting going. To take that away, the $25 out of the revenue, it kind of seems nonsensical. If you would, I don't know if this is in stone. Is this, all these budgets and what we're seeing here, is this in stone?
It's the,
If no writers pass.
it's to be presented, yeah.
Beyond voting for it. It's
Right.
just, you guys are kind of like, this is what we're doing, we're telling you why we're doing it, and it's gonna stay right here unless.
So this is the planned presentation, Mike, but our budget, and that's a good point, our budget doesn't become final until the residents vote on the budget at town meeting floor, so.
So right now, it's in stone until we get to town meeting, whatever you're proposing right now.
Whatever the residents of Halifax vote at town meeting is what the budget will be.
I think it's gonna add on a little problem by not having the burner permits and getting rid of this stuff. We storms, we had a nice warm Easter, you're gonna have highway out, and they're slow staff too. I think Vernon is a good way. I don't try to put any sticks out from the highway. I try to get rid of it on my property, on my neighbor's property, I have no permit, and I get rid of it that way in the safe way that I'm supposed to do. I think taking it out is, and you get revenue from that too. I appreciate you having me consider that.
Chief,
Thanks.
you had mentioned the reason, part of the Chief, yeah, thank you. Part of the reason, the rationale for the cut of no open burn permits is because you wouldn't be staffed enough in case a fire got out of control.
And I fully see his point. The other side of it is we're not gonna have the ambulance staff either, where we're gonna make $2,600 compared to $25. If we don't have the members to respond to something, then it's just not gonna make a dangerous situation out of something that we shouldn't be. Two members, at a station, I'd rather have them there for medical than have to respond for an out of control brush fire. Like we just, shouldn't be responding to begin.
So what would help with that to keep the $25 fee? Or when it's up the fee, the money would go to the fire to help out? I
fully understand his point. The only thing I can say is that asking to come and what
Yeah.
I'm doing so. And in doing so, I have to cut service. It's sort of like going grocery shopping. You have $200 a week to go grocery shopping, now you have $100. You only buy two shopping. And if I can only staff what I can staff, and and unfortunately, if the burning permits is one of the things that must go.
Not just one of them,
Yeah, I fully understand.
Appreciate it, Mike. And then Ted, did you have anything else?
Yeah, so just with the response time, so back in 2014, right around there, the fire department didn't have as many members. They were pretty much running with two. So you asked also about significant calls. So went back and just looked through a few calls. Person not breathing. No firefighters in town. Police respond for 15 minutes before any mutual aid shows up. So that's CPR in progress.
Long time.
So again, to go back to that, Ted, so you're saying because when we had two, they were being used, you guys were there for 15 minutes before we were able to get
Mutual aid ambulance in
from another ambulance from another community?
No, it does not.
No, but one time is scary enough. Yeah.
One time is enough.
Another call with fire. They had a juvenile that was having some serious issues. They weren't able to get a driver back for the fire department, so police officers had to drive. The ambulance was out of town for 2 hours and 6 minutes, and the officer was also out of town, leaving just one officer. Does this happen all the time? No, it does not. Does it happen? Yes, it does. Then the last one for the fire department, they asked for another medic. Everyone was in the same boat, so Hanson at the time did not have another medic available. They were trying to meet up with one. They left Halifax. Pembroke did not have another medic available. So they were finally able to catch up with a medic out of Whitman Fire. So from when they requested that extra medic to when they actually got a medic on board the ambulance was 20 minutes. That's just some real-time data with the staffing that we'd be looking at.
Thank you. That paints the picture, Ted. Thank you.
So would you consider that harsh, or, you've been covered for years, my understanding. What level, can you consider it on a?
Yeah.
There is no scale. You can't, what if public safety at all? We could get through it completely unscathed, or we could
Yeah.
absolutely get slammed.
Is it correct?
Thank you.
PSI?
Mike, just to keep things going, you're bringing up a lot of good questions.
Just wanted.
Yeah. I was just going to say.
Two quickies and I'm out of here.
Okay. All right.
PSI, do we still get PSI in here, or now you have to have the state police come in?
So BCI,
Oh, BCI.
that's coming on in. They're supposedly going to keep 2 units on, so we don't know what the response is going to be from them. But I've spoken with the state police. They can't send anyone out. They were looking at it, maybe so if you had a DNA, maybe the fingerprints
dusted. BCI will respond out for that. If they're not available, the state police said that they would probably put a monetary money amount on it, so if it's a B&E under $5,000, they're not going to come out and bust.
So they're the ones that come out and crime scenes on a motorcycle, car crashes, they do all the measurement, all that, so they go around the state police, and they're probably less available than BCI. Is the same with the environmental police? Did they get cut, and does that affect the, you know, like the lakes around here, or the woods, or any of that policing?
I don't know about the environment.
I know the environmental cut, I just didn't want to do that.
Ted, real quick.
Yep.
Explain how many communities 2 units of BCI would be covering.
All from the town.
Excuse me?
From the town.
But yeah, but how many communities is that? Like 26?
27 communities.
27 communities for 2 units, and if they're on 2 calls already, we're not getting it. Right. This is what people need to understand, the impacts that we're asking you, the police department and the fire department, to make at the expense of budget cuts, and the impact it's going to have on the residential, commercial, and industrial members of this community is significant.
If I could just say that too about BCI, are there a lot of instances or types of calls where you have to stay on scene until they arrive? So
We have to stay on scene at every call that they call.
So that could also hinder people from being on the way. And is BCI used often? They are. They do your fingerprints, your crime scene, photos and bookings and all.
So every arrest we make, every arrest that we have in Halifax, BCI gets called. They do the processing, they do the fingerprinting, photography, major accidents, even sometimes minor accidents. We'll bring BCI in just to have the photos. Like if we're doing an investigation where the cell phones are being used, they have it's called the heat lab. So they basically process the phone. If they're not available, they'd be state police. We'll get the phone back maybe in a year or 2. So it's just constantly utilizing the services.
All right, I do want to move on, guys, to one last one, Mike, just because we got a lot of people here to ask questions. Yeah.
We're not just dealing with our own town, we're dealing with every county. We see all the complexes going on around us in the surrounding towns.
Yeah.
Populations around us are going through the roof. We might not be, but they're still coming to this town.
Good point. Yep. Anything else before we move on?
There's someone online.
Do we have an online question?
No, it was still the same iPhone 5, so
Okay.
until we get clarification on
Yeah,
who
we'll
that might be.
we'll need an ID.
You said it was an iPhone 5?
Yeah, that's what the name,
That's what the name was.
Okay. Hey, we don't phone shame here. We don't phone shame. I'm not going to stand for phone shaming there, Frank. That's exact. Amen. That's right. All right. So can we'll reel it back in now. So that was police, that was fire.
Yep.
Stephen, are we
And I
ready to
just-
go on to the next department?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring everyone's attention to the bottom there. So the total cuts for public safety is $290,021. All right, so now moving on to the school department. So this slide shows the overall cost of the entire school line, as we see it in the sheet that we develop as part of our budget. The outstanding number here is the net school spending number. As you can see, I've budgeted $6,931,771. And this has been after a careful review with Lindsay and the town's accounting consultant. We spoke with him, I believe it was about a week and a half ago now, maybe 2 weeks. And we did find a formula sheet that helped us associate the cost that the town provides to the schools on top of everything else, in order to meet the number that is net school spending. So the DESI sets a number that is set at the beginning of the year. Now, the numbers we're actually breaking down right now our fiscal 25 actuals, or, fiscal 25 actuals that are impacting our fiscal 27, or no, 2025 calendars that are impacting 2027's net school spending number. So that's how it's all determined. The spreadsheet alluded to us that we have about $250,000 to $300,000 buffer between that number of $6,931,771 and the absolute minimum net school spending that we could contribute from the town side.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
for the public, in case not everyone knows what net school spending means, can you give a quick elevator pitch for what that is?
I can talk about as far as what my understanding of it is. So net school spending is a number that is determined by DESI. It's done at the beginning of the school year. I believe the number for Halifax was $8,096,000 and change. So that means that's the net minimum number that the DESI wants you have to spend. Otherwise, you end up in a situation where DESI will come down with DOR, and then there's a phase where they will set your tax rate for you if you do not meet that spending. Now, that being said, we will not know what the net school spending actual number is until this time next year, for this year. So it adds a different layer. So overall, I mean, the formula and the way the state administers this formula is very difficult and complex. That being said, it's a net school spending number, so the town is expected to spend that amount total. Now, there are contributions that the town makes. There's a list of A through M that qualify for net school spending. I don't have that exact list, but the way the breakdown goes, it considers things like staff positions here in town hall that contribute a certain percentage of whether it's their salary counts towards this net school spending. So what I'm saying is you take the $8,096,000 number, and each number that we can take from the town government, we can take off of that $8,096,000 and lower it, and that's the actual contribution that the town has to make in order to meet that minimum number. See what I'm saying? Everybody understand that? So when me and Lindsay did that work and then referenced that work with our our consultant, he said that we should have plenty of room to navigate. And again, we are not 100% firm on where this number is because this form came to us, this spreadsheet, which has been in existence with the town for a number of years once net school spending was developed. We are not 100% familiar with it, but we ran it the same way that last year's town administrator did, and we came up with a number that is what we propose this number off of, to at least give ourselves some buffer in the event that we are short, because we do not want to find ourselves in a situation where we're having to take free cash or other funding this time next year to apply to a gap that we misappropriated or miscalculated. So we're trying to leave in that conservative number. So that number is $6,931,771. In addition to the other line items there, as you see, the vocational education, special needs tuition, special needs transportation, the Silver Lake assessment number, and then the debt exclusion, which is ongoing debt for building maintenance, or I believe it's HVAC, but it's a debt exclusion, so it should fall off eventually here in the next year or two. And the approximate savings here is, again, $800,000. So, any questions?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Again, Van Donley, 201 Cranberry Drive. Just some quick questions on the school budget. The total number the state's given us, I guess, that we got to meet in spending for the school, is that per pupil? Is that assessed, or is it just a lump sum they tell you got to meet? Or what's the guideline for that?
The way I calculated this budget was with the lump sums, the assessment numbers they told us to meet.
They told you to meet. You don't know how we got that, right? I mean, I'm assuming it's got to be some kind of per pupil spending assessment or something.
Yeah, it's a
like
state formula.
There's a formula, I think,
formula,
goes
right?
along with it.
Yeah.
Okay, that comes up with that, all right? So they're telling us what we got to meet. The question is, if you look all over the states, we're all having this problem, right? You know, the governor's spending their money on their toys and basically telling the towns, you got to pick up the tax at the bottom. So, and this is happening all over the state right now. And we got no audit. So all this stuff's going on at the top level, and we have to deal with it here, which to me is unbelievable. But at the same time, you know, you got to take care of the kids and the students, and I get that. But again, just to get in a number, it'd be nice to know what that formula actually translated into the, maybe it's someplace on the website or something, I can find it, I don't know.
We've tried.
You tried?
That's what we've been sitting
That's
with,
great.
is a spreadsheet that was created. And we know that even the spreadsheet we've been utilizing isn't 100% correct. So I'm not really comfortable. I'm pretty comfortable giving this number.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know the 100%
But
background. of this
transparency
document.
wise, not so good here.
Yeah,
Right?
no, I
On what
mean-
number we gotta hit, based on some formula they came up with. Okay, so, to me,
Yep.
Jesus, everything in Beacon Hill just drives me bonkers. But, you know, transparency, I think, to the town is a good thing, because are we having to spend up to that to meet it, and we're having to put other salaries on it to meet that? If that's the case, it doesn't make sense. Is it, you know,
So the way it's broken down is this sheet kind of shows the spreadsheet in general.
yeah,
And it's got, you know, a component of my salary that goes towards the schools. And then there's a component of maintenance, there's a component of the treasurer's, and then all teachers' health insurance costs is also taken off that number. So
makes sense.
there's so many things that legally qualify for A through M. I mean,
Yeah.
there's that many letters that qualify for that. So I feel like I'm comfortable with the number, but again, I don't know, I don't want to make any comments because I'm not a financial expert,
No,
especially on this
we'd be
formula.
worse off if you had to take away from being able to cover some of the town to still meet that number, right?
Yes.
So, I get that. It just, I guess for transparency purpose, it would be nice to know how they calculate their numbers. I'm thinking it's gotta be some kind of pupil ratio or something. But, anyway, that's just what I wanted to know on that piece. I appreciate you guys' time. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mel, come on down.
Mel Conroy, 7 Birch Road. Has the school committee voted this number yet?
They voted their number, yeah.
Is it in conjunction with this number?
No.
It is not.
Speaking to clarity, can you present the number that they voted?
Do you have that number, Stephen?
Lindsay, what was that? That was 8 million.
8,100,000?
Yeah.
8,157,387.
Jess, can you speak to that? Do you mind like explaining where you guys got that number?
I mean, honestly, I think it was about 56,000 over the net school spending, and it allows us to keep the school as we have it, and we've cut the school budget the 4 years that I've been here. We don't really have any room for cutting without them losing IEP issues and things of that nature. We really don't have room to cut for, unfortunately, because our IEP numbers are so high.
8.1 is way far away from 6.9.
Yep. Hold on.
Jonathan.
Hold on. Yeah, you know what it is, guys? People aren't going to hear this. So, Jess, if you don't mind. Yeah, if you mind, Jess, just coming up so people can hear.
The net school spending is not 6.9.
Like, so I think there was,
The net school spending was 56,000 under what we voted in. It's not like we went like hundreds of thousands over. We voted to put in this number because that gives us a little bit of room to do that. If we didn't vote in that number, then we can't do anything else with it. We have to vote in the higher number to allow room to move with it. If we voted in the lower number, we can't go any higher.
I think one of the cruxes that we were dealing with, I think, and I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth, but I think the school's net school spending minimum number was different than the one that Stephen and the town came up with.
So we voted,
So,
yeah.
so
we
you,
had a meeting 2 weeks ago.
so they had their meeting a couple weeks ago, yep. And administration, Silver Lake administration presented a different net school spending number, which was the higher number, which was the 8,100,000 change, something like that. But
Not even a full-time teacher position.
correct. And I think Stephen, in his department, dug a little deeper in the net school spending number. So as Stephen explained it, the state gives you a number that the town has to spend on education, right? And then there's deductions A through M. It's like you're doing your taxes. Oh, I can deduct this, I can deduct that. I believe, and again, I believe that the administration might have done the first 3 deductions, but I think Stephen and his crew dug a little bit deeper You know, like the health insurance for teachers, that the town pays can knock down your NSS number. So there are other deductions, I think, that the town looked into to try to see if that number could be lower.
Right, so
And
we
I
were asked to
think
vote
that's
that
where we
number
are.
before we even had numbers.
Yep.
So we couldn't, I can't be like, oh, they're gonna find money, millions of dollars at this point.
Right.
And say, let's vote in that lower number, we can't do that. So the number that people are thinking we should have voted in wouldn't have met our net school spending, and then we would have lost funding for the school, correct?
I don't know the exact answer to that. I will say that we are speculating that.
You can't go below net school spending and keep us.
Right, and we believe that with this number, we will meet net school spending. The $6,931,771.
And we have deductions A through M to back up that hypothesis.
We have a loose, and we have we have a loose belief of that based on spreadsheets and how it was historically done. And we also have a meeting from when we met with our town's accounting consultant to go over the sheet and confirm. Last year, we actually were over by 25%, I believe the number was, Lindsay? Yeah, FY '24, we overfunded the schools by 25% more than the net school spending minimum number.
Right.
But then,
And
the
it,
school gave it back to the town.
Right.
We couldn't ask for it back, and then the following year, we were asked to cut again. We ended up cutting a ton. We don't even have full-time art teacher, full-time library teacher, the things that we all had as kids, we don't have for our kids now, and we're asked again to cut more. We can't keep cutting, or the kids aren't going to have, we're gonna take away all class next. That's gonna create a lot more issues for our schools.
and I will say to Jess's point, net school spending is the minimum required. And I think most towns want to go above, most towns don't shoot to, all right, we have the minimum amount we can spend on our school, that's what we're gonna do. You know, that's not the goal, I think, of any community.
We're also not done trying to cut here. We're, you know, like, the principal, all the administration, we look into everything, but we're asked to vote this number before we really have time to look into everything. We're given this number that has now changed 2 weeks later. So
Can that number be modified with your voting? Because now it looks like the 1.5 is going on the warrant and the ballot. We vote, if they do the override, you guys get your money, can do what you want with it, the town gets the money, they can do, the town has at least laid out what will be cut, and if they get the money, what will go back in. The school is insane, and no offense to you, just the scare tactic of 40 kids in a room. There's not gonna be 40 kids in a room, because if you get the money, you don't necessarily have to cut the 12 teachers you're saying that would have to be cut.
Right.
You guys can do whatever you want with the money, which is insane to me, that you have line item autonomy. It's ridiculous. It should be that you guys should come to the table.
we actually don't even have fully, the school committee doesn't really have fully any.
Well, the administration shouldn't have that ability at all. If we're paying for it, we should be able to see what's being cut. Do you guys, is there an ability to go in and change the number, the net school spending number, so you guys can go back in, and you just saw the number of cuts that the town buildings, the town hall, police, fire are making. I hate to say
Yeah, I mean,
it, you
it's-
have to make cuts. You have to.
I know we do, but we literally can't base off of that number we already had to vote it in. We weren't giving all the numbers. I mean, I don't want to see the school resource officer. I mean, everybody on Halifax football saw what happened earlier this year. Like, that's not what we want to see. We need our resource officer. We need the fire. Like, I had a house fire. You had a house fire. We need the fire department. The town needs to. I mean, the 1.5. What are we going to go down to 1.4? It's not going to change it that much, unfortunately.
Well,
Yep. And just if you can, I don't want to get into a debate, guys. Ask us and we'll try and come
I'm just
through it,
saying,
you
so
know?
what is it the school is looking, they don't want to make cuts, but if
It's not that we don't want to.
So I think, Mary, and I don't want to speak for you, Jess, I think what it boiled down to was the school's net school spending number was different, for whatever reason, was different and higher than the number that the town has come up with. So in the school's opinion, it is dangerous to go under that net school spending number. No town wants to go under a net school spending number. It opens a Pandora's box for your town and your school. So I think our school committee was going on the number that was presented to them, and the number here that the town providing is different than that number.
should
So.
we be concerned that we're getting a number from wherever we're getting it from, it's not even, I mean, $1.5 million, almost $2 million, that's a big difference. Like the fact that that is what, whether it's a superintendent or wherever getting that number, that we're getting that for them to work with, which is off so far.
So which number is right?
So that's my question, and I give Jody and Jess credit for being here tonight. It would be helpful if somebody from the district, either the financial director and or the superintendent, could be here at either of the last two meetings to speak to that formula, how we got there, what the discrepancies might be. At two meetings now in the last 30 days, we've had school committee members here speaking for the district, which is nice as a representation, but it'd be nice to have somebody else here as well.
My other question is, or suggestion is, I know I brought it up, and I know Tom's brought it up. What can we proceed, no offense to the schools or whatever, can we proceed with a split override? Town, safety, whatever, and the schools on the other side. I think we're gonna have a problem because it's either gonna be all or nothing. And I have a feeling it's more gonna be nothing. The number of people in town that don't have the money to pay additional taxes. On an average home, it's 5 something, 6 something. With this, it's gonna be another 250, whatever, 300. I don't know that there, I mean, we already have 650.
Hold on. The total would be, on the average household, just to clarify, on the total 1.5 million is an average impact of about $450 annually.
Okay, but what about the regular increase in?
The regular increase is the typical 2.5% that you get every year.
Right, that's what I'm saying, 2.5 plus the additional $400. That comes to, some of us don't have average like Kate, some people do. It's gonna be between $500 and $1,000 a year. We already have $650,000 in property taxes that we have not collected because people haven't paid them. I mean, we have people that can't afford their bills. I'm just saying, if it comes between safety and schools, I feel like it's time the school might need to cut back. Our student population has not increased all that much. I don't think I just don't. I don't think having 22 kids in a class, 23 kids in a class is a bad thing. That's just my opinion. My kids had 24, 25. They're okay.
Again, Mary, so to speak to that, the town's job here is to present what we, the finance committee, through the Board of Selectmen, recommend the town's budget to be. If, again, we get to town meeting and there's different thoughts, different opinions, and we want to change numbers, residents have the right to amend anything being presented at town meeting.
I don't think you guys voted yet on splitting the override. And I know it was brought up over and over again, and I don't think there was a vote.
We haven't.
And I think that.
We have not.
I think it needs to be decided. Because I think there are people that are gonna be one side or the other. So we're either gonna end up with nothing, or we're gonna end up with half a million. I don't know.
Or everything.
That's a stretch, that's a stretch.
Good luck, Tom.
I think. Any other, Tom, you got something?
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah. And again, I do want to echo what Tom said. Jody and Jess, thank you very much for being here this evening.
Yes, thank you.
As members of the community. These are volunteer positions, guys. So I really appreciate the efforts that they put in. Go ahead, man.
Back again. Van Donnelly, 201 Cranberry Drive. Learning a lot here. I appreciated the feedback that I got from you on the last one and I think other people should appreciate the fact that you found a way to meet that number without all going technically to school's budget. It's coming from what you're allowed to push it to.
It's a standard practice that all
which gets you to the number you need to hit. The question is, did we do that in the past or no?
Yes, we did.
We did. Okay, so we used the same number over time to get to that. So the question too is, I guess the school budget was 2025 was $6,931 something, I believe. Is that right?
In fiscal year 25?
2025?
2025 is up on the screen.
I can't see that, but.
$6,600,934.
603.
So that was 2025. Now, did we supplement that with any free cash, or was that?
I'd have to look back on records. I've only been in this role for 10
Because I thought
weeks.
last year we talked about taking something from free cash. to help us.
That was the year prior.
Just last year, things
That was
were
later.
supplemented with free cash.
Free cash was last year, FY '26.
Okay, so, yeah, so, right, so this year, though, we're not supplementing that, so that's back on the tab that we didn't do before. So that's an increase. What happened there was just, because we had it last year, the cost, just we supplemented a different way, right? And how much total you think that was? I don't know, $500,000 or something?
750.
700 something thousand.
780?
780, so 780 was added to the school budget before, okay? It's just we took it out of a different way to cover it for a year till we got to an override, basically, right?
That was effectively an override last year.
That was a trade-off, man.
Yeah.
That was a trade-off. We need an ambulance.
Yeah.
We didn't order one last year.
Correct.
Right? We needed 2 police cruisers. we cut that in half.
But
In
the
order
school
to-
budget didn't go
But
down.
it's all trade-offs.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So we've put together the best possible budget for the town based on the anticipated revenues as of today.
So the school, I guess the new number, I guess it was 8,157,000 something, I believe?
That's correct.
Okay, so I guess if I'm looking at the difference between that, what do you got, like, $1,200,000-ish or something like that, $1,250,000? And if you take the $750 we covered out of the $1,200,000, that's the difference in really what we're trying to put back into the schools, correct? Roughly?
Effectively.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Okay, so, just so people understand that, I mean, the budget, we're not, the school had to spend X before. And so the only difference we're really putting into the schools this year is the difference between those, the money we used some other areas to cover it last year. It didn't cost it and go up that last year to the 8.1. It was always there. We just tried to do some other things, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's kind of what you need to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like I gotta say this. To the point, though, I don't think anyone here thinks our schools are drunk with money. Maybe that's just my take. And a school is a driving force in a community. A school is what brings young families into communities that hopefully stay for a long time and selfishly pay a lot of taxes. So look at it as a business venture. Our schools are a vital part of our community. Am I excited about the possibility of a significant cut to our schools this year? Absolutely not. I think everyone that's had children go through the schools here, we have a fantastic school system here. So I just wanted to say that. It just seems like we're painting a picture that the schools are trying to actively suck all our funding as a town. I think they're putting forth a budget that they think will give them the best opportunity to have a really good school for our kids. And I just wanted to say that on record. And these are tough times and everybody's got to lean in. But I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there, that I do feel like there's an aspect of our administration and our school committee that are trying to give us a school to be proud of. I just wanted to say that.
And to supplement that, schools are also not an optional thing. They're regulated by the state, so some of these are regulated by the state. And I can appreciate the committee and the administration being hamstrung by timelines and figures to be determined later, and they don't necessarily match up with the town's timeline to set the budget. And those are all difficult scenarios. From what I hear, the frustrating part is that, and I heard Jim say it last night, right about now, the job of the people here before you is to turn over every stone, and then when you see another stone, turn that one over too. So from some perspectives, it feels like some committees, boards, have turned over every stone and gotten creative. 2 weeks ago, when the school committee voted for a level service budget, to those who had to cut, that might have felt a little on deaf ears, because some are being creative with their cuts, and some seem to be holding the company line. The company line is not wrong if it's being compliant with the state, but if it's simply digging your heels in and hoping to get everything out of it, that's a different scenario. So the difficulty, from my perspective, comes in marrying the two. The obligation of the school committee is to satisfy the obligation by the children of the town through the state regulation. That may or may not coincide with the town's budget. Getting creative on how to get there to the middle ground, which I believe other departments have done, is how we can dig ourselves out. That's the difficult scenario. And like I said, I applaud the two members of the school committee tonight for being here. This is not on their shoulders alone, just like the operational budget is not on our shoulders alone. It's a group effort, and it didn't happen overnight, but the answers that we can get there involve getting creative, and we knew that last year when we punted the override for free cash. We knew this was not going to be easy or seamless, and that's why the level funded budget that the school committee offered fell short for some people, because it felt like others were cutting every corner possible. And that's where I feel like some of the bent up and pent up frustration comes out, because it feels like not everyone's on the same playing field. I think we are. They're just bound by certain rules under state law. That's where I come on it.
I'd also like to say that there's 3 open school committee openings now on the board, and only 1 is being filled this year, so I just want to
Sure.
put that out there.
Yep.
Just one thing for.
Sure, come on up.
It's not an exaggeration as far as the numbers of kids in the classroom.
numbers already. They lost a teacher last year. So to say that it could get up to 40, that's not an exaggeration of that.
It just shows that we cut last year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the year before.
Yeah, no, there are no easy answers here at all.
And there's 3 open positions.
Yep. Good.
Do we have a breakdown of how much is a dollar amount that's cut in administration? And how much is cut with teachers and actual education?
No.
No,
because they vote.
voted to level service their.
They vote a number.
So there's no cuts.
The number is voted in the school, they have autonomy on how to cut and what to cut.
Yeah.
There's no breakdown of what they propose to cut when they come into a number. And just to back up, they didn't vote a cut, but had they voted a cut, they don't have to tell you where it's coming from.
Not cutting administration, but we hear our fire chief and our police chief tonight.
From what we'd previously been told, from what we had previously been told, when cuts are on the table, doesn't come from the administrative side.
Because I will say, Deb, a lot of those administrative positions are contract positions. So they are contracted, and the administration is bound by the contract.
Schools also have a lot of what ifs that they have to vote in. Like what if 3 kids go to vocational school, right now we have 1. There's a lot of what ifs. And we don't find out those numbers until after. So we can't vote, okay, well, there's only gonna be 1 going, this 1's going out. We don't find out until after our budget has to be put in, that only 1's gonna go, versus they still have, we budgeted for 3. So there's a lot of what ifs in the school, because kids can decide at the last minute, basically, because the state allows them to do so, to go to different things and do different things and fund different things. So it's not all in the school committee, like, the school committee's not trying to rule the town.
No, I get
Right, and that's what I was trying to say, is the April 1st deadline for application, April 15th deadline for acceptance, and those numbers don't come in until long after we need to be done.
Committee like this, like, I'm not gonna rule it. You know, I live here, I have 3 kids in the school.
Yeah.
I volunteer.
I appreciate that. I didn't mean to say that.
I didn't think, I don't think it's you, Mayor, I'm not saying it's you, I'm just saying, like, I've seen all the things on Facebook, like, the school's not doing this, the school's not doing that. The school's hands are literally tied
Sure.
behind the back of my blindfold, walking into a wall.
and it-
There's literally nothing we can do.
And I hope through this process, guys, and I think we're actually doing a really nice job tonight. You can learn a lot about folks when the you-know-what hits the fan, right? And the you-know-what's hitting the fan all across Massachusetts. And unfortunately, you see in a lot of communities, the claws start to come out. And they start to say, well, no, we need to keep the thing that I really care about and cut it from them. Or I need this, cut it from them, right? We do have to remember that we are all in this together. And I know that sounds Disney and hokey and all that great stuff, right? But I hope through this process, we're all trying to put our heads together to come up with a plan that residents will feel the least, right? The residents will feel the least. That's our goal, is to come up with a plan that hopefully, if it doesn't pass, it doesn't have dramatic and drastic effects on our services for our kids, our community, our elderly, our seniors at the COA, all of the parts of the town. So as you're making your points, guys, just remember that if it's something that's really, really important to you, doesn't mean that there's another department where it's equally as important to somebody else in town. That's all I'm gonna say.
We're asking about what ifs and talking about what ifs. I understand that those are in the school budgets, but we know what the what ifs are. We don't know what goes on in the administrative side of Silver Lake when they come in with a $509,000 increase and no cuts associated with that. They just want the flat $509,000 increase is what the assessment is asking for. Where's the what ifs in that? They don't explain that, they don't talk about it, they don't show it to us. They say, here it is, we voted it, we want the money.
And maybe I could ask our school committee members, because we're putting you on the grill here tonight, to go back to administration and say, listen, I sat at our town meeting, we saw the drastic cuts that are being considered. Can we get a little firmer numbers on exactly what we're looking at? Because it is true, we are instantly given the class size number. You know, that seems to be the first thing that is presented. But maybe if you guys felt comfortable digging a little deeper with administration at your follow-up meetings to try to get a solid list.
Jonathan, could I just
Yeah,
say something?
EJ.
So it's hard to make a decision or form an opinion on something without having all of the facts on it.
Amen.
And in particular, as it relates to the school budget this year, it was exceptionally hard to make a decision on that. And what it came down to is we didn't feel, or at least I didn't feel like I had enough of the facts as to what truly are the impacts. We all hear 10 teachers, we all hear 12 teachers, but outside of that, what is it? What are the other alternatives? And when you're not sitting at a table having dialogue about what options you have, and you're only hearing that your option is to cut teachers, that can't be truthful. That can't be the fact. Because when you peel back the onion and you really start to claw into things and search for a way out, you're gonna find at least something that's helpful. And it was really hard to sit at the table last night and have to make a decision about the schools, because I feel like you don't want the kids to be punished because of actions or decisions of adults and our inability to communicate and be transparent with each other. And that's what I feel like's happening right now, is whether it's administration, whether it's committees, whoever it is, and I'm not questioning any committee work whatsoever, but if we're not being transparent with each other, how can we trust each other?
There was the issue of going through, like, paying for kindergarten, and I saw a lot of that on social media. They're not even trying to pay for kindergarten, they're not even trying to pay for buses. When you actually come down to what you can actually get for that, so, like I was talking about IEPs earlier, the people that would qualify for full-day kindergarten, half of those kids are gonna be IEPs, let's be real, maybe even more than half, because the kids coming from preschool into kindergarten, a lot of them are on IEPs for speech and things of that nature now, because early intervention is very easy to get into. So all of those kids are gonna qualify for full-day free kindergarten. So let's say that there's 85 kids going into kindergarten, 40 of those kids get full-time, 20 of those kids have to pay. It literally doesn't make sense. So it's not even like an equity thing. I mean, yeah, I believe that equity is a big thing, but at the same time, okay, you're just gonna charge 20 kids to go to full-time kindergarten, but then the other kids that the parents wanted the full-time didn't get it because of the lottery, they didn't get it because the lottery didn't have an IEP. It doesn't make any sense. And then busing, that didn't make any sense either. You can only charge if they're within a certain radius of the school. It was, a lot went into it. The articles kind of just like cliff noted it. This has been an ongoing conversation with the school committee since I got on 4 years ago, paying for kindergarten and busing. It's not as easy as, well, other towns do it. Our town is tiny. So our radius is tiny. It's paying for, like, people who would have to pay, and the number of kids, like, I know my friends go to Hanover. Hanover pays for kindergarten. They have 3 elementary schools. They have way more than 85 kids going into kindergarten, so it's actually significant. For us, if you're only getting, I mean, just random little numbers we put out there, but let's say half of them, and then half of those are paying for it, is it really, it's not gonna change anything.
I was gonna say, one of the things I think that we're trying to hopefully share is the whole stone unturned thing, looking under what's available. Now, you gave an example of, let's say, roughly 20 kids in kindergarten next year would be eligible to pay the full, whatever the tuition that was proposed and set forth. Let's say it's $2,000. You have 20 kids paying, and their families paying $2,000. That's a $40,000 benefit to the school, to the town.
Right, but then half of that you have to pay for the busing again to rebus those.
Sure, so we
transportation's already for that.
you're right, there could be expenses related to that. So but the idea would be, let's explore what avenues we have to increase revenue for the town. Whatever that revenue is, we have to look at it, we have to consider it. The town, the residents need that opportunity to see what are the potentials there for, it could be 40 kids. We don't know what the number is related to the IEP's number, whatever that is. But it's looking under the stone, see what's there, let's do it.
Right, and I don't disagree. But I mean, the past 4 years since I've been on, the budget meeting, we had to take up the entire all-purpose room last year to go over all those stones. The stones, we're turning them, like I promised. I don't want higher taxes. My grocery bill's $500 a week. I got 3 sons. Like, I don't want higher taxes, but it is like, it's just like.
Joe, do you have your?
It's getting bigger, man. Like, they just keep eating.
Joe, do you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Do you mind just coming to? See, the problem here, guys, and I know we can all hear it, but the folks at home aren't gonna get any of this. It's okay, so just come right up to the mic.
I just think it's important to mention too that we are discussing other options, and we've decided at the last meeting that we're gonna continue discussing them in future meetings and vote on them. So they're not off the table, we haven't made any decisions on them, because the full committee wasn't there.
Thank you. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Gene Gallant. You gotta pull that microphone. Gene, pull the microphone down, Gene.
Okay.
Jeepers.
So my question is, on the warrant at town meeting, is this number gonna be presented, or the number that the school committee voted the other night?
Steven, you wanna explain?
This will be the number that will be presented at
Yep.
town meeting.
So this budget that's being presented this evening, guys, is the actual, you know, you get the warrant, and then you get to turn it sideways, and you get that list of all the different line items and all the budgeting. The number in that line item budget, it will be the budget that is being presented this evening. And then any sort of things on the override will be, so our budget is Article 3A. 3B will be the items that will be up for the override.
And you'll have, like, the school is this amount?
Correct. It'll all be broken down. Yep.
Steven, is that upcoming?
Great work, everybody.
I think that's all upcoming.
What's that?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
It's literally on the way.
I know. I hope you guys have good babysitters, because we got a ways to go.
All right, so moving on from the schools.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. This slide will probably give us some more conversation. So when we started going to the next level of cuts, and I call this the next level because we have to start considering what's mandated for legal compliance, what's legal that we have to have. There's only a set number of positions in town that are actually legally compliant. You start looking at services that are offered to certain demographics and what the utilization of those services are. And we ended up on the Council on Aging. And we've made the decision to cut the Council on Aging to 3 days a week from its current operating schedule, or at least cutting the number of hours that it would only cover a 3-day week. We have not really decided on how the building will operate. If, you know, if an override is not successful, does it mean the building will be closed during the week? Not necessarily. Will it have shorter hours? Possibly. We're gonna have to look at the operations to figure out what staff's left over and what funding's left over, because as you see here, we are proposing to keep the director on in a 24-hour capacity and then cutting all support staff. There are GATRA funds that are available to subsidize some of the positions at the Council on Aging, including drivers, because that's the #1 service that most Council on Aging users utilize, is the concierge driver service for their doctor's appointments and other things. And we are also talking about Meals on Wheels and other factors. So needless to say, the savings here is $161,351. You know, with moving forward, we also want to look at the construction of the department, because we've had some turnover in the department recently, even since I started. And we got to figure out what's going on there and move forward with a Council on Aging that operates and serves the residents of Halifax correctly. Unfortunately, cuts need to be made, and this is probably the deepest one, because it considerably impacts the Council on Aging. So I will open it up for questions. I know the COA director is present for any questions that folks may have on that front.
Yeah, Fred, come on up.
Fred Corrigan, 7 Rosewood Drive. I'm involved with the Council on Aging pretty heavy. And now it's a one-lady show. There's 2 employees that have left, never been replaced. So now we're down to the director. And there's many nights when you drive by there, her office lights are on. We're demanding more out of this particular person than we should, because we're not filling the positions. The seniors in this town, including myself, have paid taxes, supported the town, and now we reach a stage of limited income. And it is limited. But we still support everything that needs to be done. And we're good, solid citizens, taxpayers, homeowners, you name it, in the town for 30, 40, 50 years, whatever. And yet, we can let the Council of Aging, the COA, come down to just one person working how many hours a week is not even paid for to keep the thing going. Seniors in this town are on the short end of the stick. And they have been for a long time. I appreciate everything it has done for the students. Our young people need our help. Well, so don't the seniors. And I think we better pay a little bit more attention to the Council on Aging because it is a big benefit to a great many of our citizens.
Thank you. Well said, Fred.
Thank you.
Anybody? Oh, Darlene. Yeah, come on up. This is Darlene Regan, our COA director.
Good evening, everyone. As the COA director, I have to say that between the ages of 70 and 80, there's approximately 25 to 30% of the population that we serve. There's 22 members that are registered with us. There's actually in the year, this past year, there was like 558. And we served majority of them on medical rides and transportation. And the majority of those rides, if you average them, there was 38 people that used the rides all the time. And it translated over a year of 320 unduplicated interactions. So we do a number of different things: SNAP, fuel assistance, Health and Human Services, all of Health and Human Services, the best of our ability. And I know when to stop. I send it over to the state when it's necessary because that's what they do. I know where to go. And I don't let any wrong door or send anybody in any wrong place. So with that said, we are formulary. We do have a state formulary grant. And it's $16 per person, and it depends on the census of the town or the city. And say, for instance, this thing is so tall. I'm sorry. For instance, as an example, we have a gentleman, retired auto mechanic, having health issues, financial challenges trying to make ends meet. John has no immediate family and no other support network. COVID exacerbated his isolation. John had a heart attack, and afterwards, God connected with the COA and Senior Center for resources and supports. John now drives with, he drives there 3 times a week, or drives to our center 3 times a week, and he takes some fitness classes. And he also meets with me, the outreach worker, to find programs through SNAP, through fuel assistance, through Health and Human Services, Medicare, and also the Medicaid programs out there that are available to him to help him get through all the expenses that he's experiencing. Medications, co-pays. These are all things we're familiar with. He participates in a men's group, he becomes socially engaged, he's feeling better. So that's what we do, okay? I mean, we have schools, we want to stay in the community, people end up staying in the community, so we're trying to serve them. And with that, my salary was cut 50%. I don't know anybody that can survive on $50,000. Just saying. And I don't put just 40 hours in. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, darling.
Deb.
Darlene, you also write grants for the COA. too, correct? Which is very time consuming.
Yes, I do. I try to access as many grants as possible. Mass Cultural Council grants through entertainment, all that is grant funded. Hardly any of it. So basically, I was looking at just overview. $212,000 is what my budget is. Okay, $33,000 of that is my formula grant. You subtract that, I have $179,000. And then I look at GATRA now. I do all the paperwork for GATRA. It's time consuming. I showed you about it. It's very time consuming. But I do it because I know it brings money to the town. So that brings in so far, $120,000 in reimbursement. It's a reimbursement, not a grant. So with that said, where does that bring me down to? I'm running on bones. But I do it because I love the people here. The people are wrong. I came back from work and they've been here for a week. And they came back here for a reason. I took the cut and pay too. I want to let everybody know that. And they provided extra vacation time and everything else. And they loved their seniors, the select board and everything. They supported them. I came back here for a reason. The people here are amazing. They are wonderful people. They're innocent people. And let's support these people. This is wrong. This is wrong to cut seniors. Not just seniors, but everybody. I understand it's hidden everywhere. But it's just, we use the other grants that I access. I reach out to the state in reference to a grant that would not be backed up by MBTA. I can write this grant for $500,000. I have no one to manage it. So I get the grants. What do? I need somebody there to support that, do all the paperwork. I guess I'd say that I just don't go home. I don't know. If I meant people said that was a good thing, I would just stay all night and do it, just because I care. It's the price of caring.
And I think it's the only department we've talked about that's really cut 50%. 50%. Even salary, 50%. But Darlene, over and above what you do in your office, you're often called to do a health and welfare check for someone who needs services and spend a lot of time with families, not just the senior, but someone taking care of somebody.
So above and beyond that, the state does offer us training, case management. I got my master's degree. I paid for it myself. I didn't do my homework at company time. I did it on my own. So with that said, I go back to school. I take all my courses that I need to take for case management. You can always tell a person when they go to the doctor's office, hey, you're out the door, go take this medicine. They go home. They may be going home to a sick environment. So case management, we get the calls. Housing issues, evictions. But I make sure I connect them to the attorneys that are out there that's getting funded by the state to do this. So, I mean, I know how to direct people. I make sure that they don't fall through the cracks, the best of my ability. And I know people in the industry that I've been around for a while. So I know people and what they can do and what they can do for the seniors here. And I've actually done that. I've gotten letters of support. And thankful, people are thanking me because of the fact I was able to get them to have, school in various places. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say. But if there's savings, I will make sure that there's savings. If I know that you want to cut the budget and a position, I know how to do that. You don't have to have somebody always at the phone. Yes, it'd be nice, have a volunteer, okay? But for going forward in terms of outreach, there's a lot to outreach. And I'm doing it, and it's okay. But there's other things. I got budgets to do. I got money to make or bring in actually for us. So.
Darlene, hold on one second, please. Thank you. Cutting the full-time staff to two positions that you have below you and filling those with volunteers. Talk about how that will or will not work and how that lays out.
Well,
What positions would they be filling? What would their duties be?
So two of the positions are full-time positions, 40 hours each, right as it stands. One is an administrative associate's position, answering the phone, transportation. I have the logged calls.
When you say transportation, is that driving the bus?
Not at all.
Or coordinating the transportation?
Correct.
Okay.
And there's a lot. So entering the information in, being patient with the person on the other end, too. It takes a lot of time. Sometimes they can't express what they need. We just know that consumer over time. Putting that information in the computer system, enter it, make sure that it's accurate, make sure the funds or the actual fee is correct in the system, make sure the mileage is correct, make sure that that gets reported to GATRA correctly, too. And that all has to be recorded on a day-to-day basis. So
And currently, you're doing that?
Correct.
And is that something a volunteer could do?
Well, if they know the system well enough, yes, they would
Well.
have to be trained. And then I take those figures, and then I have to apply them to a reimbursement sheet. Plus, then I have the backup to that. But I have the reimbursement sheets that are documented the van driver salaries, how much time did I put in, how many hours did I put in to do that report. I get reimbursed. We get reimbursed for the gas. We get reimbursed for the 3 vans.
So all the expenses you're getting reimbursed
Correct.
for if you fill out the paperwork and submit it?
Correct. And this month here, we're waiting for $10,000 some odd dollars right now for the month of January. And we just got reimbursed $8,800.
Okay, let's talk about the second position.
And the second position is outreach/programs. So running all the programs, making sure we're coordinated. I have Social Security coming in, I have people, lunch and learns. I'm coordinating so that we do have activities over the holidays, and making sure that we have entertainment that's free. So I write the grants, make sure that's available. That's all grant funded, all that. We get
Is that stuff the
donations.
second person would do?
Yes, and I'm doing that. So that's the coordination of all these different services. I reach out to the library, try to network with all the different departments to make sure that we're all kind of connected and working together. First and foremost, I got to find a place to have these things. So that's a tough one.
I understand all that.
Yeah.
So
that
is a
position there.
volunteer, is that something that would work or not?
Volunteer can help in certain
No,
instances.
would it work or not?
Not in the case of outreach. It's private information in that system.
That's what I was getting at.
Absolutely.
Yes, because when you said social
We will
security
not-
numbers
I will
and
not
things of
allow
that
that.
nature.
Yeah.
So that person has to be certified,
Vetted person.
trained, how does that work?
Yep, so for instance, we offer an activity, we offer an event, okay? A staff member, if you go to all COAs, their activities and events are right there. There's always a staff member
Right, but
present,
I'm
but the
getting
training,
at is trying to understand that a volunteer can't do that position.
correct. They have to be CPR certified.
Right, so that position can't be backfilled with a volunteer.
Correct, but there are positions that can, I have.
Well, talking about the
yeah.
two that
Yeah,
they
but that one, no.
proposed not to replace.
That's tough to do. And then there's the newsletter. Coordination of the newsletter, making sure that gets out there. So I do know how to, I offset that with the cost of having sponsors. And that the printing's done for us, because I used to stay there forever and it would break down and everything else, just so that we can get the newspaper out and printing.
So what do you need to run your department?
In terms of funding?
No, in terms
Oh.
of
People?
personnel.
I'll tell you, I can go with myself plus then one solid full-time outreach person that's knowledgeable and very understands the systems, been there, done that.
So you need
actually.
you plus one and a volunteer.
Yeah, and I have plenty of volunteers. It's just that they're not consistency. There's no consistency, and sometimes you can't have them every time. They burn out too. So I would actually use them for the newsletter, putting the newsletter together, doing the walks, you know, like creating a senior walk. There's a lot of Meals on Wheels even delivering. I also pick up the Social Community Action bags before I come into work. I pick those things up. There's like 25 to 32 bags. If there's more food, I stuff those in my car. I create the outreach part of it and bring it to the housing authority so people there can live with respect. And I try to make sure that the food gets there to their home, or actually to their center there, so that they can just shop at their leisure.
So you plus one,
That's right,
and then a volunteer to do the phones, the bus coordination, things of that nature.
right. I mean, but someone can just take a message, yes, but then is those piled up?
I just want to make sure we're not conflating things. Meals on Wheels is a separate organization.
Meals on Wheels-
It is not run by, or these meals are not manufactured by the COA.
We do not
Correct?
manufacture
There's a
them.
coordinator that it works for Meals on Wheels
This is-
that sits in the COA. Is that
We
correct?
we supply the volunteers to go out to deliver the meals.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. But Meals on Wheels is not a COA-based organization.
It is Old Colony Elder Services, and under the
Right, so
executive office.
which is not a COA of Halifax organization.
It's not, it's a separate
Okay.
entity, it's an ASAP.
Just want to make sure we're clear with that.
Okay, but let me make this very clear too. The entities that are under the umbrella of the Executive Office of Aging and Independence, ASAPs, Aging Service Access Point, Old Colony Elder Services, Independent Living Center, Independent Associates, COAs are the front line to the community, and it goes up the ladder, or down the ladder, wherever you want to go. But the fact of the matter is, we all work together. They come in, they provide the services, or the food, or the nutrition. In fact, I have a grant now. They want me to write a grant for nutrition for $200,000. I don't know. What am I going to do with that grant? I guess, what? I don't have a kitchen to do anything with it. So, I mean, I could hire a cook or something and have meals. We do have congregate meal sites. People that don't have the extra funding, they can come and have a meal there on a Monday or a Wednesday. So then we also deliver them. But we work with Old Colony to provide, we have to be serve safe. We also have to provide the volunteer base. And they vet the volunteers, some of them that come through the RSP program, and some of them we actually recruit for them. So, you know,
How many people
we work
does
together.
the center service on an annual basis?
On an annual basis for,
How many people come through
Over-
the door?
it was 568 when I counted.
So we have 568 residents of Halifax that utilize the COA on an annualized basis?
Yeah, it was actually the services, actually, sorry.
Well, yeah, but they're coming through the door.
Yes, that's correct.
So
So if you average it
COA
over-
manages 568.
The heaviest, yeah, and the heaviest volume is between Tuesday and Thursday. That's the heaviest volume.
And with the community going in, do you expect that number to increase over the years?
No, because that's going to be, we're going to have a younger population that, we also serve people that may have a disability or that have, or need services for certain things, disabilities, of course. But that particular, it's a different breed coming up. I think there's more of a more sedentary group we deal with now. But I think over time it's going to change. And that group is going to be the more outdoorsy, you know, go hiking, that kind. Health conditions, it can happen to anyone. Okay, John, when I was reading that, actually I brought my phone down. My whole point in telling you that, this particular person had 272 interactions with the COA. If I'm getting $16 for each individual or for each senior, I broke that 272 interactions at the COA down to 5 cents for each interaction. 272 divided by 16. That's pretty damn good, huh? I think that's pretty good money for the services that we offer. SNAP, he got reimbursements for SNAP. He got reimbursements for fuel assistance. He got SMP, the Senior Medicare Patrol, $202.90 per month. So that's a significant savings for 5 cents.
And you said that through using a volunteer to do some of these roles at work, but that you also said that volunteers can be inconsistent because they're voluntary, they're not paid, that it's...
Well, in a nice way. This like the SHINE program, Medicare. We don't have a SHINE person. It is volunteer. We look for people get sick, people retire, people come on, they only can do it when they can do it. Now we have the Navicare, the ACA in addition that some people now transition from 65 to 60, from 64 to 65, and what to do next. So sometimes they're on an ACA plan. What do you do with those people when they don't want to leave that plan because it's so rich, and now they got to go to Medicare, which is a lot of gaps in it.
When you talked about SHINE, so people understand,
Serving health and information of everyone.
is that a state mandated position that needs to be the town?
That's one of the services they asked us to provide under the Executive Office of Aging and Independence, yep. Yep.
Thank you, Darrell.
Any other questions, guys, for Darlene? Yeah, Fred, come on up.
While I was sitting there listening to Darlene, this town has something else that's pretty unique. We have the Halifax Mobile Home Estates, and that's 55 and older.
With another one being built now.
So, in relationship to the population, we are a senior citizen town, which puts more pressure on the Council of Aging. Therefore, we really need to pay attention to the services they're able to give.
Thank you, Rick.
Sure.
In retrospect to what you're saying in terms of Halifax Mobile Estates versus this new project, the new project, they pay HOA fees, right? Okay, so their HOA fee is gonna cover maintenance and hopefully all that stuff forever, I don't know. So, to me, it's gonna be a little bit different than the mobile estates, you know, it's aged, yes. It's, the buildings have aged, so there's no, I mean, they have a fee that they pay for the land, but for the actual project and, you know, like the mowing and those services.
Yeah, the
are not
maintenance,
there
there's no
anymore.
HOA,
Is
right,
everything-
Deb? There's no
There's no.
HOA? There's no HOA fees at mobile home, at the park?
It's not called an HOA, it's a lot.
A lot.
Okay. But doesn't cover your grass cutting
It
and your
used to.
snow and any of that stuff?
In the olden days, it did.
Right.
Okay, so in the days gone by, which I heard, I don't know if it did, but I heard, that people call me and say that used to be covered, but now it's not. So now they're looking for somebody to do it. No, they never did. Well, like, they told me it did. But the thing was, it used to have, they pay that fee, $6.90. But of course, where are you gonna go today? If you buy your mobile unit outright,
Sure.
okay, you have $690 fee that you gotta pay. That's
Yeah.
not too bad today in the world.
Sure.
But for some people it is, if their income hadn't stayed, you know, hadn't kept up with the cost of living. So just look at a person at $1,027 a month.
Right.
And they're paying $690 in a
It's
man fee.
half their money.
That's, you know.
Yeah.
So we try to find the services. So I reached out to a concierge service through, it's actually through Norwell, to see if we can get somebody out there to offer some type of a service like shopping for seniors and shopping for just people with a disability. And there are services out there, but if you don't qualify or you're just over that line of income requirements and you don't qualify for a Medicaid program, then there are other services that we gotta search for. So I do all that searching. Just for instance, looking for rebates for seniors and all people within the community with regard to National Grid. I'm having the representatives come down. They're coming down on May 14th from 9:30 till, I think it's 3:30, to do applications for people that are finding that it's expensive to, what's available out there for rebates. So I'm trying to reach out to all these different entities to support people as they age, but also to the community too, because they could come to the COA. We do have a lot of seniors. Their sons and daughters, I call them the sandwich generation. That sandwich generation trying to have to, you know, monitor their children, trying to take care of their mother and father or a loved one, actually. And so, you know, they come to us for asking about services. And we provide them as much as I can for resources and
Sure.
healthy resources.
Sure.
At least I think I do.
I don't think anyone here doubts that a thriving COA is a must for a community, right? And
Right.
we're talking about a population of folks that unfortunately oftentimes get overlooked
So we're-
because they're not visited by as many people. One of the big things about a successful and healthy and happy later life is that social interaction, is the ability to connect. So I don't think anybody here, Darlene, denies the fact that the services that you guys provide is a lifeline to a good population of people in this town. And I don't think anybody here is excited about what we're looking at here, but I'm hoping, I know you're good at your job, that we can get, again, creative. That word's been thrown around a lot, to maybe look at volunteers, to look at, and so that folks can hear, this is part of what's on the table, you know, so.
So again, like the services that I'm looking for, it's giving people money back in their pocket.
Sure.
Okay? So it's not something
On a
that's
fixed
coming out of
income
our pocket,
person,
but
right.
it is, if I had to calculate my time to research it.
Sure.
Which I've done, okay, then it comes down to what? And I guess it comes to a balance of humanity. If you are a humanitarian and you say you are, then be one.
Sure.
Okay? And then provide the services or research those services for the people. But you also are a manager too, I get it. But, that's what I try to aim to do, to watch the pocketbook of the town as well.
Sure.
So I don't utilize the services to the ability that, and that's my point in saying with all the funding, I don't want to utilize the town's money to a max. That's why I go out and do as much research as I can to find the services that are available out there. If anything, it breaks it down to my salary, if you want to do it. But now it makes it down even more so, I guess, you know? So, whatever.
Well, your efforts don't go unnoticed, Darlene. Anybody else? Yes?
Tina Alger, 340 Plymouth Street. You people don't know what you have with Darlene. She has helped me so much, and I appreciate her friendship. I appreciate what I have seen at the COA, and we have the park, which has over 400 people. We have 100 people out here in the rest of our town. And we also have the new condos, which nobody really wanted. The townspeople didn't want it. The powers to be in the town wanted it. And this is the job that we're cutting. This is the COA that we're going to cut down. I think you better think this thing over. We're going to have a lot more people here, and they're going to be all seniors. They're over 55 at the condos. We've seen them in the paper. They've all been, a lot of them have been sold, and we got to think this thing over. What are you doing? These people are going to be the majority of the town of Halifax. I never thought I was old enough to go, but but in the last couple of years, I needed help.
Yeah.
And that's where I went.
Yeah.
And I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should think this thing over.
Yeah, Tina, it puts us in a tough spot because, as you heard, we're looking at fire cuts, police cuts,
I know.
teacher cuts.
I know.
As I said, we're trying to paper cut this thing as best as we can, with as many different buckets as we can. So I don't discount your notion that the senior population in this town is going to increase.
Right, and we need
and they're going to need more
services,
services.
just like the school.
I agree.
We need increased services. The school gets what they want, most of it what they want, and I think the seniors should come in. We've been at the bottom of the list for years. And now I think it's time we get something out of all our money that we have spent. I have lived in town for 60 years. Or I have lived my married life here for 60 years. And seniors never got nothing. And now it's time. And you people are the only ones that can do it.
Well, I will say it can go to the town meeting, and the residents can decide, yeah?
One quick thing, and then I'm done.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
But just something
Next.
to think about.
Sure.
And one quick question. Is there any other director, department head anywhere in town that salary has been cut by 50%, or close to 50%, except the COA? No. And the other thing to think about, imagine this. I know a lot of you still are working, and you go into, you need the thankfulness. A lot of people are, or even people here. And you go into your job tomorrow, and you get told by your boss, we need to save money. And we're gonna have you do twice the work for almost 50% less of your pay. Would you stay, or would you be out that door? We're gonna lose her.
Tara, did you have something you wanted to say? Or?
Mayor?
Absolutely. Come on up. Just identify your name and street, please.
This is like overall, not specific to Council of Aging. Is that okay?
Go right ahead. Let it fly.
Okay. Tara Tonello, 425 Elm Street, Halifax, Mass, obviously. I'm speaking on behalf of a resident here. I was on Zoom, hello Zoom world, for a little while, and I just want to reiterate how devastating this is for the town. We're in a tough position where, you know, revenue is outpacing expenses. That's the simplest way that I can think of it. No fault of anybody in this room. Everybody in this room is doing their absolute best to fix a very, very tough situation. I heard from a lot of departments. Darlene, I think you said the sandwich generation. I am that sandwich generation. I am affected by every single one of these departments that are facing devastating cuts. Police, I know you guys have gone without for quite some time. I abide by the laws of the rules of the road, so I'm a good citizen, but you keep my kids safe.
They're still going to give you a ticket if you're speeding.
I know,
It's okay.
Give me a ticket. Give me a ticket. It's fine. Fire. I've said this before. My mom is disabled, and you have come to my house for lift assist and transports, and your team and your department is incredible. The town services and government services, oftentimes you have a thankless job and you keep the town running. That is incredibly important. School, I have 2 kids, one in 2nd grade. I always think she's in 3rd. She's not. She's in 2nd, and a 5th grader. I know the school has made cuts, and they have went without multiple years. They cut 2 teachers on this recorded line. It might not be accurate, so don't come after me. They cut 2 teachers last year. They cut a lot of the specialists. They cut buses. My 5th grader is just as tall as me, and she is in a bus with 3 other children. There has been bus situations this year because it is so overcrowded. So I know that the school has made significant cuts. Council of Aging, again, my mom is disabled. We have used wheelchairs on loan. It is an incredibly valuable service. So I think it's unfortunate to say this department is getting, you know, worse than this. This one we're getting asked to cut more. Every single department is facing devastating cuts. So it is one town, one community. I'm hoping other people like myself have an understanding that we are, I think, Jonathan, you said it, the Disney hokey, we are in this together. It is a tough year, and it's a tough year. And I know every single department has made very, very hard cuts. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tara. All right. Anybody?
I have something, but I'll wait.
All right. Tom's going to wait.
I don't usually have self-control, but I'll wait.
All right. Attaboy. You're getting better.
Moving on. One small cut to culture and recreation. Again, representing cuts across the board. There was a line item in the youth and rec wages, which will be taken from $19,186 to $10,000 even. The town just had a set of pickleball courts conveyed to it, so we're gonna have to figure out maintenance costs and upkeep costs on that, along with the continued operations of the department, figure out how to maintain things like tennis courts. We're just gonna have to do an operational review to figure out what's going on there, potentially charge more money for youth and rec programming in order to up that fund so that we can take care of some of these things that are already in town. Are there any questions there?
Are we in a position to be able to delay accepting those? I know they're different from the development, right?
Moving on, this one's a little bit of a hidden.
No,
Sorry.
he was,
That was a question.
he had a question.
Are we
Yeah,
able
yeah.
to
Sorry.
delay accepting those, or?
Can we delay the conveyance of the pickleball courts? I believe I asked that last
Yeah,
last
I
week.
mean,
We had the walkthrough yesterday.
so, yeah, so we had a contractual agreement with the developer to do January 1st. Part of accepting the pickleball courts is we have to do a walk around to make sure that the town is willing to accept them in the condition they're in. January 1st, we had 2 feet of snow, so could have been a pickleball court there, and maybe not, I had no idea. So the town and the developers came to an agreement to move it back to April 1st. We did, as Stephen said, our walkthrough this week. I will say, and I know this, this isn't unicorn and rainbows given the meeting we're having right now. They are terrific courts. It's a beautiful facility. It's a plus for the town. But the new contract now, they convey to the town on April 1st. And that's always been,
5 or 6.
it's always been that the town will accept them as part of our agreement. So I would feel like it's our duty to follow through on what we agreed to with that developer. So,
I will say, I did notice that a material they're using that lays down on top of the courts for surface itself is something I haven't seen. And it's like something that rolls up, so they conceptually seem like they're gonna be easier to maintain. I'll leave it at that. So this goes as often, this is a hidden cut that most folks would probably not see. So this applies to the other post-employment benefits. There's a trust fund that's been established in order to meet the town's obligation over a number of years so that they can pay out the benefits to employees after they retire. This includes coverage for things like health insurance, pension, any other benefits that are included with their retirement. We were able to do this by speaking to our trust fund consultants essentially and asked their actuarial accountant to explain to us exactly what the impacts of this would be. We have the ability to keep it at this funding level from 46 down to 5 for 3 to 5 years. It may extend on the other end and extend it out at the end of the term. We are unsure on that, but it shouldn't be too impactful. And again, this is something that with a successful override would immediately go back into funding because these are one of those liabilities that you don't want to fall behind on and you forget about it and then suddenly it becomes a huge liability 5 or 6 years down the road. But we have about 5 years to closely monitor that and keep track of it. Any questions there?
what's the savings, Stephen, on this?
$41,000.
$41,000.
41,000 annually,
Yes, for the next 3 to 5 years.
and talk about the payback on that.
It will be extended years out at the end,
So an additional 5 years to pay out.
potentially. Not exact on exactly what the term will extend.
So in every year after 5 is 41,000, you gotta pay back.
Sure.
At current cost, right?
Yes.
At
Not
the
at,
sa-
not at current
Not
cost.
at current, no, at future cost.
Not at future cost, no. You just have to.
The exact same amount?
Exact same amount. The actuarial, yes. You're extending the end, yes. You're not adding cost and having to replace it. So this is, this slide shows the summary of all the cuts that we've proposed here tonight. And so if you go down, this also has the corresponding line number in the budget that folks will get. These are, the budget sheet is available on the town website, so you will be able to see this entire presentation is available. The entire expenditure sheet is available, so you can take these line item numbers and compare to what is listed. So now we're gonna move on to the funding allocation with a successful override. At least this is my proposal. This is something that obviously can change drastically on town meeting floor. This is the aspect that will change drastically. Up to this point, that's the FinCom's budget that they voted as of last night. That could still change. But this would be, with a successful override, being able to figure out where allocations go back into the budget. Again, this is the summary to show you exactly what those successful allocation amounts would be. I don't have them listed out side by side, so I will go back through them. Can everyone see that?
Not even a little bit.
I'm gonna move it closer.
Yeah, there you go.
Steven, this is already on the website as well, right?
It's on the website. If someone wants to walk up and take a picture of it from your phone.
This entire presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, read it.
Just read it, Steve.
You're being too accommodating, Steve.
I want people to be able to
That's
see
worse
this.
for me.
You're still not gonna know. Just read it all out.
Well, you have the list right here.
Yeah.
So on line 13, that was the full-time to part-time assistant town accountant. That line would be restored in full. Line 15A, which was taken from 218 down to 178, will be restored with $7,000, bringing it back up to 185, not to the full 218. The 22 is referring to the combination of the assistant town collector and assistant treasurer. We would immediately restore the assistant collector position. That's $43,000. Lines 45 through 50 address the police department. It would be a full restoration of their $150,021, bring them back to their proposed 27 request.
Which again includes the school resource officer.
Which again includes the school resource officer, so that would be fully funded. Animal control, everything would go back to as proposed before any of this bad dream started. We'll say that. Fire department is next, line 53. There'd be a $140,000 restoration of the cut they were asked to make. The schools cost, line 71, would be $800,000 to restore the budget, the cut of $800,000 as proposed. Line 116, we would fully restore the Council on Aging Director's salary. And then line 116A, we would allot $50,000 to fill the two currently open full-time positions with 2 part-time staff members. And then work on looking at the department for efficiencies and figure out where to go from there. This would also call for, on line 128, youth and rec wages, restoration of $9,186, again, to focus on maintenance costs and looking at how we're going to raise more money with youth and rec programs. I believe that the current fee schedule is a little bit outdated and behind, and there's probably some room we can make up there revenue-wise. And then lastly, line 155, which is J, $41,000 to instantly refund that OPEB liability trust line back to the $46,000, which was proposed as a budget item, and I would hopefully be able to continue to fill that at its full allotment, because that is one item that is within fixed costs in our budget. So, and then you may ask yourself, well, that's only $1.3 million and $1,300,841. Where's the other $199,159 going? This would go towards establishing a reserve fund, and the main reason here is because of collective bargaining. Right now, we are about to enter into bargaining with 5 out of 6 of the town's labor unions. So they're all due contracts come June 30th of this year that will start on July 1st of 2026. So me and Lindsay have begun figuring out what those potential increases are, getting ready for negotiations, strategy, all that stuff. But needless to say, this also includes contracts for both Deputy Chief Benner and Chief Witham, who also are on expiring contracts as of June 30th, 2026. And we'll need new contracts to continue on July 1st, 2026. With all that being said, we will also be doing a department-by-department operational efficiency analysis. I know that the town just went through a class and comp study to look at all these positions. Unfortunately, you went through a class and comp study when the financial situation was drastically different than it is today. So we're going to take a look at that classic comp study as we take a look at departments and figure out what can be pared back, because obviously, again, the window in which that picture was taken is different than the window we're looking at today. That will need to be done. And again, for instance, like with the Council on Aging, we need to do an analysis to figure out what is actually needed over there moving forward. Do we believe it's 2 full-time? Not necessarily. Do we believe it's 2 part-time? Not necessarily. Is it somewhere in between? Maybe. But we have to figure that out with the COA director and really analyze that. So, next steps and future strategy. Again, just outlining that reserve fund, that's really going to be to make sure that we can retain as much staff as we can with the override, with a successful override, because we need to lock people up for the next 3 years in key administrative positions. I put this last slide on here because on town meeting floor, typically there's a question about what is given to wage and personnel employees that are also outside the union contract. So we have a section of town staff that their raises, their COLA increases are dictated on town meeting floor every year. And that is a very small minority of the majority of the workforce in the town, because police, fire, mixed unit, and highway, and then we have an admins union. So that leaves a number of department heads that are subject to town meeting, and they have their COLA increases decided by town meeting vote.
It's about 10 employees.
Yeah. 1% increase on COLA would be about $16,645, and a 2% increase would be $30,157 across that wage and personnel. And that's just for your information. No, that's not in the budget right now. But that, if it comes up during town meeting, it's so that you folks have the numbers to know exactly what they are, because that question has been asked in the past. And this is the number I'm estimating heading into next year for associated costs with probably most likely the second year of contracts. I mean, when you bargain with unions, you bargain with unions, and you have to come to a consensus and a middle ground. So, this QR code will land you on a page on the town website, if you scan it, that will bring you to basically all these financial documents that are being compiled in one place so people can have access to them. So you can take a picture of that, it'll get you into a folder, you'll have the presentation there, you'll have the expenditure sheet so you can take a look at it in detail on your own time. My office is always open for questions. Whatever you guys need answered, we're going to be here for. I'm also going to, during the month of April, be speaking whenever I can to as many folks as I possibly can and doing the same presentation if necessary. I want as many folks in the town to hear this. I'm going to be speaking hopefully at Heinrich Hall towards the end of the month. I'm going to ask the chiefs, I haven't asked them yet, but they're interested in having us come down to talk about police and fire impacts and what that may mean to the Halifax mobile estates and the residents down there. So again, this information we want out there and to be readily available to folks to consume and you know, help you have the data you need to make this decision for yourself.
Just 45 seconds from me, last comment. I'd like to thank Steve and Lindsay, department heads, the chiefs, the finance committee for all the work that you put in. You know, last year we knew this was going to happen. This should not come as a surprise to anybody. You know, we basically punted the override last year in favor of free cash. This is not a surprise. If you're surprised, then I'm not sure where we've been. You know, our job up here is to put the town in the best position possible. We believe we've done that with suggesting this override. You know, there's some mechanics of it that I think some internal struggle we still disagree on a bit. You know, between the schools rallying the parents, the senior citizens, the COA, the mobile homes rallying their troops, hopefully there's enough momentum. You know, there's got to be a cost analysis here. It stinks. These are all deep cuts. No one wants to make them. They're not popular. Everybody's got different priorities. There are pros and cons to everything. But if we've all been doing our job since we talked about this last year, we should have some decent support behind it. Whether you're a senior citizen or a school committee or a young parent or a first responder or somebody who relies on any of those groups, this is not a surprise. So I'd just like to thank the people who put the time in and the effort in. The numbers are real. And again, there's some mechanisms, I think, for discussion on how we get to one override versus two and the buckets and so forth, and we kind of dwelled on that for a bit. But, you know, this is, somebody said it before, it's all for one or one for all or whatever you said. But if everybody rallies their group, then it shouldn't be a problem in passing it. That being said, we should still continue to communicate as much as possible.
Sure.
That's all I have to say.
But yeah, I would like to echo what he said. I know it's getting to the witching hour here, so we want to get out of here. But thank you to our FinCom. Again, guys, these aren't folks that just show up in the 11th hour. They've put the time in, you know, and they're volunteers. Our school committee folks are volunteers. We essentially, we're not taking a salary this year. We are essentially volunteers. So we're all trying to put our heads together to come up with the best answer. And I think our goal here is to try to educate people as much as we can. That's my personal goal. An override vote is very personal. It's what your vision is for your town. But our responsibility is to make sure folks know what both choices will really look like. And that's what we're going to hit hard over the next month. Not to sway you to go one way or the other, but just to say, hey, if you vote this way, this is what it looks like. And if you vote this way, this is what it looks like. So if you see folks talking about it around town, or just make sure that they're educated, make sure that they're informed, suggest the stuff that Stephen's put together. Because I want people, the worst thing you can do is get into a ballot situation if it makes it there and not have any clue on what you're voting on. So let's educate Halifax as much as we can. And that's all I have. Thank you guys for everything. Jim, anything for you guys before we close our meeting?
Just a brief statement, at least for me. So
Sure.
just to echo what you guys have said, I want to thank the committee itself for the time they put in, starting back in late November, early December, when we met with department heads. We all had our liaison assignments. We met with all the department heads. We knew what we were up against, and this was a highly debated, and there's still some conversations that need to happen after this, by the Finance Committee on the numbers that we presented. Again, as I said earlier, there's no true solution. It's all trade-offs. We have to not do one thing to do something else. The budget we've created is based on the available dollars as of today for next year. The override will supplement that to give us a level service, which means we would just be servicing or funding what we have today. So this isn't new spending. It's not additional items anywhere inside of the town government or even at the school. It's just what we have today. That's what we would be funding. On average, it's about $44 a month, the override. So, you know, I want to thank the team that we have here. I think we function really well. We have for a while. You know, this was not an easy decision for anybody on this committee.
Thanks, Chip. Anything else, guys?
I've got something, Jonathan.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
Let's touch a little bit on the override as far as how that works when it gets to the floor at town meeting and approved or disapproved on the floor, and where it goes from there.
Sure.
For the ballot.
Sure. So you're
So
essentially...
everybody understands the
Sure.
mechanics of that.
So an override is a two-part process, essentially, where at town meeting, the residents will vote whether or not we want to put the override on the ballot. So if you're voting yes for the override at town meeting, you are not voting to ratify the override. You are simply voting to allow the question of the override to go to the ballot that following Saturday. The ballot is what will decide whether or not the override survives, and it needs a simple majority at the ballot. So that's the two-step process that an override is. Does that make sense, Frank?
Yes, makes sense
Yeah.
to me, just as long as everybody understands.
Sure.
If it's approved at town meeting, it gives the opportunity for the entire town on Saturday
Correct.
to vote yay or nay.
Correct.
At the ballot box.
In
If
our
it
goal...
gets voted down on the floor, it never makes it there, and all the cuts we're discussing here, all the headaches, all the
Happen
issues,
automatically.
you're gonna see it, you're gonna
Sure.
feel it, and
That's a good point, because there's no going back either. So
No.
like what Frank said, that's a good point, Frank.
Right, that's it. And that's what you're gonna live with for the
Sure.
next 365 days.
Sure.
Effective July 1st, limited service within
And
the
I
town.
will say, to speak to that, Frank, you're seeing in communities, there are communities around us where they initially shot down their overrides, and then within a year later, ratified that override, because I think the towns that I'm talking about got a taste of what it really felt like, and came back the next year and said, you know what? We didn't like how that's going. We're gonna pass this override. So, to your point, what the vote is what the vote is for 365 days.
And Jonathan and Frank, to your point as well, the mechanics of it are, they vote or not vote for the finance committee's recommended budget.
Correct.
And then they go to the override vote.
Correct.
And then if it passes that initial okay, put it on the ballot, if it is defeated at the ballot box, the voted on budget at the
Town meeting becomes the
budget.
budget. Correct. Correct. Yep.
And that's the budget we discussed tonight.
Correct.
With all of the cutting and bloodletting and
Sure.
whatever you want to call
Sure.
it.
So you're hearing, it's already starting, on, folks are telling me on the social media sites and everything. My ask of everybody is to just try and get your information from informed people. Get real information. Don't rely on, a town talk page or something about, oh, I've heard this is there, or they're living fat off their budget. We're looking at the numbers. There's barely any fat on this thing at all, if at any. So please, my plea to the town, educate yourself on what we're deciding to do. Don't just go on what you're seeing on the channels, So it's my last plea.
I had two quick things. Just the difference between, as far as the vote goes, if this is amended on town meeting floor to an amount like, say, $1 million, right? Say it gets through the question and the override's approved, it gets amended down to $1 million on town meeting floor, it still goes to the ballot box asking for the 1.5 million. The difference is the 1 million is what's allocated for fiscal year 27 to be allocated. The next year, so fiscal year 28, we'd be looking at a situation where that levy limit capacity is able to be collected by the town without going to town meeting and asking for it. Just so you're aware.
In plain language, it means that the $1 million would be taxed immediately, and the
Immediately.
500,000 would be delayed until the next fiscal year.
Correct.
Just want to make sure that's what that means.
Yes. And then last point, on the screen right now, you're looking at a calculator that I will have on the website. You enter your assessed value in that first column. It shows you what your annual impact will be down to the dollars and cents. I have a biannual version because I know that's how people pay their taxes here in town is 2 payments. I have that breakdown, and then it shows you what the daily impact is. Now keep in mind, this is just the override amount. It does not factor in the typical annual 2.5% increase. So this is an amount over and above what is the standard 2.5.
And if I could throw one last thing, and I swear this is it for me.
That's all the last
You-
thing.
No, no.
Last thing here.
Also,
And we're done. I'm going to use this thing.
take 2 minutes and call your insurance agent or your insurance company and ask them what the classification change in different protection class will cost you, and weigh that out against the override amount. The protection class difference you experience in a change with, like Chief talked about, in an ISO rating is severely impacted by that and could be mitigated by that offset amount.
So to translate what Tom said, you could be giving extra money to your insurance company instead of giving it to your town to keep your services the same. There you go. Yeah. All right, everybody good?
Good.
All right, with no more discussion, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our meeting is adjourned at 8:54. Jim, you have the
Finance
floor.
Committee, motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.